The Sonic boosting formula has been around since 2005, and since then, we've had countless stages based on that same formula, whether they be good, great, awesome, or terrible. And after the release of Sonic Frontiers with 30 new cyberspace stages, I decided to take on the challenge to rank every single Sonic boost level since 2005, the debut of the boost formula. This tier list will contain stages from Sonic Rush Adventure, Sonic Unleashed including the DLC and the Wii version, Sonic Colors DS and Wii, Sonic Generations and the 3DS version, Sonic Forces and Sonic Frontiers. And when I say every single stage, I mean every single stage. We're going to be going through the Game Land of Colors, Cyberspace and Frontiers, and even the DLC of Sonic Unleashed. Now there will be a couple of exceptions in this tier list however. I won't be including any sort of mission type stages, such as the missions in Colors DS, the missions in Sonic Generations and 3DS version, and also the missions in Sonic Unleashed. As I don't really count those as stages to be honest with you, since they're basically just the original stage with some sort of gimmick or something. But apart from those exceptions, I'll be ranking everything, which is a total of 221 stages, which is... God damn it, it's a lot. This is gonna be a long video, man. A long video. Now just beware, I won't remember every single stage because some of them, for example, Game Land from Sonic Colors, are very, very forgettable stages. So if I don't have full thoughts on every single stage here, then please excuse me. But yeah, I think that's everything for the introduction. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let us rank every single Sonic boost level. This is gonna be pain, man. Absolute pain. Starting at the E tier, with the worst Sonic boost level in existence, has to go to Cyberspace 3-5 from Sonic Frontiers. Do I even need to give a reason why? I mean, to start off, the drift absolutely sucks here. Like, what on earth happened here, man? Even Forces had a better drift than this. Like, what on earth happened here? So bad. And then because the drift sucks, it just doesn't feel as good as the original stage, so there's literally no level design at all here. It's just straight lines with a few turns with nothing there, and that's pretty much it. Not a single enemy, there's literally nothing. It's just horrible. And to top it all off, it's both Ryu's level design and it's Green Hill. Again. Again. And again. And it's for all these reasons as to why this stage, in my opinion, is the worst stage in Sonic history, period. Not even just boost levels, this worst stage in history, man. Like, my god. Is terrible. Right, moving up the E tier, we have Asteroid Coaster Act 4 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this stage is kind of similar to the last one where it's a very, very, very basic stage with just one form of movement. But in this case, it's quick stepping. It's not much better than the previous stage, but it's a lot better. So, yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of the chopped down acts and colours probably going to be the worst ones on this tier list, to be honest with you, so just be aware of that. But anyways, next up is Arsenal Pyramid from Sonic Forces. Now, this might come as a surprise to a lot of people because, yeah, this is a fully 3D stage. I mean, what's so bad about it? I mean, it is Forces, but still, come on. Now, the reason this stage is so low is because I just find this stage so boring. Like, it's one thing a stage being bad, but boring? I find that to be a lot worse, because at least with a bad stage I'm actually being stimulated, but with Arsenal Pyramid, it's just so boring. I'm just sat there having no emotion at all. It's just such a boring stage. I mean, the opening section, straight line. I mean, you have it up and lower than a middle pathway, which the middle pathway has a red star in there, which is kind of nice, I suppose. But after that 15 seconds, you got a double boost section, which you can just sit there, make a sandwich, some would say. And even through the skydiving section too, press nothing and you'll make it through. Then the inside section of the pyramid, it looks really cool, but the level design, it feels like a hero stage, but shortened. So you've got repetitive level design, the same hordes of enemies is thrown at you, and then the platforming is just really basic too. And then even the wisp section, like the burst and lightning wisp sections, are just boring, man. Like, no thought at all with them. And then to top it all off, Sonic's control is absolute terrible in Forces. Like, my god, it is god awful. And it's why Arsenal Pyramid is just so low in this list. Like, it's such a boring stage to me. Honestly, one of the worst ones in Forces. It might even be the worst stage in Forces, to be honest with you. Like, no joke. I hate it that much. Right, then moving on, we have Game Land 1-1 from Sonic Colors. Now, if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure this stage just reuses the level design from the original Green Hill, and it works there because of the way the controls work, the momentum and stuff like that, but for a boost game, yeah, no, it's just a really boring stage. It's got a very boring looking aesthetic here, just green blocks, and then no momentum whatsoever, very limited boost, and yeah, makes for a very boring stage, honestly. And we're going to start to see a trend here because the next stage in the list is Gameland 1-2 from Sonic Colors. Now, this is a stage where I don't really remember what it was like. Basically, how I actually structured this tier list is I've just played the stage right there, then went straight to the tier list and then ranked it. And to be honest with you, it was hardest doing it for Gameland because the stage was so forgettable. Like, literally, I would play the stage, go to rank it, and then think, wait, what did I just play again? Like, that's how forgettable they are. The only time you remember what you're playing is when you're playing the stage, and then as soon as you beat the stage, you forget all about it. Like, it's that forgettable and bad, and yeah, that's not really what you want in a Sonic game, do you? Next up, we have, surprise, surprise, another Gameland stage, which is 3-3. And yeah, gonna be honest with you here, this is another one that I just don't really remember because it was that forgettable, so yeah. On to the next one, which is Gameland 6-2. Now, I do actually remember what the stage was because of how bad it was. I'm pretty sure this was that hover one where you just hover through the air, trails the rings, and that's literally it, and that's pretty much the reason why it's so low. This is actually the top of the E tier, by the way, so yeah, after this we're in D tier. And yeah, I just don't like this stage, man. This is really boring. Just use a hover wisp, take on enemies, wait for the capital to spawn, and that's literally the whole stage. Once again, really, really boring. Right then, that pretty much was it for the E tier. 7 stages in the E tier, which is, I guess it's alright. I mean, I consider 7 boost stages in the series to be actually just terrible, so that's alright, I guess. 7 out of 221. Not too shabby. Right then, on to the D tier, and we start off with Gameland 7-2. Now, I remember this stage because of how much I hated it. This stage has a section that feels like a Mario game. It's just an auto-scroller going upwards with things to dodge, and that's it. Nothing Sonic-y about it at all. At least this stage didn't bore me either. That's something I'll give it. Because that auto-scroller section is actually pretty scary because those, what are they called? Pinballs or something? No, not pinballs. Pool balls? I don't know what they're called, but those ball things, they move quite fast, and the way they fall too is really weird, just catches you off guard all the time, and yeah, that's the reason I kind of escaped the E tier, to be honest with you, because at least it didn't bore me. It didn't bore me, but it's not a good stage either way. Right, next up is Gameland 2-3, and I think this is a stage with that spinning thing into it, where you boost through and then it slows you down for some reason. Yeah, another kind of a boring stage. You just have long stretches of boosting with those spinning red things, whatever the hell they are, and that's literally the entire stage. I mean, yeah. Now, this is kind of better than the last stage because there is some sort of platforming that is an auto-scroll and doesn't feel like a Mario level. It just feels like a bad Sonic level, like a really bad one, but not in the E tier though. Those stages are bad. This stage has something going for it, yeah. Anyways, on to the next stage, which is Sweet Mountain Act 4 from Sonic Colors. This is an awful stage. Like, straight up, there's no defending it. It's terrible. Who thought it was a good idea to have Sonic stand on the switch and then make it go slowly upwards or downwards? Like, who thought that was a good idea? I want to know. I want names right now. Who thought that was a good idea? The saving grace of this stage is if you play it on Sonic Colors Ultimate, where there's one Jade Whip section which actually skips that last part because that last part is terrible. Absolutely terrible. One of the worst sections in a Sonic game, period. This stage is hands down the worst chopped up act in Sonic Colors. Hands down. It doesn't get worse than this. Which is why we're going to move on to Starlight Carnival Act 6 from Sonic Colors. This stage is awful. I hate it. Platforming upwards is fine in Sonic games. I actually really enjoy it sometimes. But not when you have a stage like this. Using the hover to fly upwards is so annoying because it just bounces everywhere, gets caught in other places. Sometimes the ring dash sends you downwards, though that could just be an issue in the ultimate version of the game. And there's just no Sonic element here at all, other than homing attacks. No redeeming factor of this stage at all, except for the fact that the time limit is kind of strict for the S rank, so that's the only redeeming quality about it. Apart from that, I hate it. Right, the next up on the list is Sonic Colors, Aquarium Park Act 2. Yeah, this has a similar issue to Sweet Mountain Act 4, but it's a little better since it's not like a long section just waiting to do something. You just, at least there's something here. You got the Cubist in there. Speedrunning the stage is actually quite fun, I can't lie. Just boosting off the platforms in that first section, a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just kind of boring. Just waiting on switches again. Right, next stage up is Gameland 6-3 Sonic Colors. Now, to be honest with you, this is kind of similar to 6-2, to be honest with you. It's basically just a hover wisp again, but with the drill wisp in water. Now, I do kind of find a lot more fun in this stage because of the drill, and it is kind of fun to just jump straight out of the water, go to the hover wisp, and then complete the stage. I find that part a bit fun, but yeah. Apart from that, it's boring. Right, next up is Gameland 1-3 Sonic Colors. Yeah, I don't remember this stage at all. If it's there, it's for a reason. Yeah, I don't remember this one at all, to be honest with you. Right, next up is Gameland 2-1 Sonic Colors. Yeah, this is not a great stage, to be honest with you. Just waiting for those yellow things is kind of annoying. And then the platforming is not that great. You can skip it all with some homing attacks, and yeah, it's not great. My next stage is Game Land 7-1, Sonic Colors. I think it's got some decent platforming here. That Eggman head thing, I'm pretty sure it's in the stage. That is a bit weird, because if you actually go in the wrong pathway, you're kind of screwed, because the Eggman head thing just comes and attacks you. Very annoying, but yeah. I think it's not a terrible stage, but yeah, it could be a whole lot better. Right, next up is Planet Wisp Act 3 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this stage ain't great. It's not great. Starts out with a decent section. Decent, but it's just reused from Act 1. It's basically an auto-scroller again. And then the 2D section in this stage, using the cube wisp there is very annoying. Though I do kind of like the last platforming section to the goal ring on the bottom pathway. I find that a bit of fun since it's just blocky platforming, which I don't hate, just to put it out there. Kind of find that a lot of fun, but yeah, it's not great, man. It's not great. Right, next stage is Planet Wisp Act 5 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this is a bit of an annoying stage, not gonna lie. Using the Rocket Wisp is kind of cool here, flying up to the skies, going through those yellow blocks. I find that pretty cool. And then, I don't know, man, apart from the Rocket Wisp sections, it's just, I don't know, man, it's boring stage, man. Right, then you have to get another Planet Wisp stage. Planet Wisp Act 2 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this stage is actually not horrible. I like it a lot more than the previous stages, obviously, but I do like the Jade Wisp section in the Ultimate version of the game. I like the Jade Wisp here, honestly. Skipping a lot of the boring platforming here. But yeah, apart from that, it's a lot more blocky platforming. Reused from Act, what's it called, Act 1. And then that section with the switches, that one section with the frenzy and everything. I don't like that section, it's really annoying. Especially if you do have the Frenzy Wisp, that section is hell, but yeah. Right, next stage is Secret Stage 2 from Sonic Forces. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't hate the secret and extra stages in Sonic Forces. I think they're pretty decent, to be honest with you, but yeah, this is definitely my least favourite one in terms of the modern Sonic ones. It's not great, to be honest with you, it's alright, I suppose. Nice gimmick with the yellow platforms, but I don't like how at the end of the stage, you just hand you all the rings. Kind of defeats the purpose of going back to get the S rank, but yeah, it's alright stage. Could have been a bit better, flesh it out a bit more, but not horrible. Right, next stage up is Secret Stage 5 from Sonic Forces. This stage is kind of similar to the previous stage, honestly, but I like this one a bit more because of that one section where you keep running and then jumping. It's nice flow there, I really like the flow there, but once again, I think they're going to flesh it out a bit more in this stage, but yeah, once again, it's not horrible, but it's not great either, so yeah. Right, the next stage is Game Land 5-3 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, I don't remember this one, to be honest with you. Whichever this one is, it's not great, Right then, Game Land 3-2. I remember this one. It's that one with the fire torches and everything, and yeah, I don't think it's horrible. I hated it the first time I played it because of how annoying it was, but yeah, not great. Right, next stage up is Game Land 7-3 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this is a decent end to Game Land, I suppose. Kind of boring, honestly, not gonna lie, just use the trail or the rocket and both works, honestly. Honestly, the Wisp in Game Land aren't really used that great, to be honest with you. It's not like the regular stages where it's actually some thought into using them, and you can use them whenever you want. No, in Game Land, it's just use Wisp here, and use Wisp here. Nowhere else does it work. So, yeah. Kind of defeats the purpose of the Wisp since it was supposed to be like a power-up that can be used optionally. But here in Game Land, they just force you to use it, and it's just really annoying, man. I don't like it. Right, next up is Game Land 6-1 from Sonic Colors. I think there's actually a fun stage in the beginning of it. I think that one 3D section, I think the best part of that is honestly, after you go off the dash pad, you have to actually, you don't go straight into the spring. You have to actually home attack into the spring. That gives some vibes to Sonic Unleashed right there, and actually, I kind of enjoyed that, not gonna lie. I actually do enjoy that, but apart from that, yeah, it's not really that great of a stage, to be honest with you. Apart from that 3D section, it's just kind of mid, not gonna lie. But yeah, moving on to Starlight Carnival Act 3 from Sonic Colors. Now here's where they introduce the amazing spring gimmick. Yeah, I think these stages should show that auto-scrolls don't really work in Sonic games, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's kind of defeats the whole purpose of gotta go fast and being good at the game. All you have to do in the stage is don't die and then you'll get through it. No mastery here except for getting the red rings. Red rings is kind of fun here. Then going off the spring to get the collectibles on the platforms. Also a bit of fun. And yeah, apart from that, not a great stage, to be honest with you. Which is why Aquarium Park Act 5 is next up. Pretty much the same thing here, spring gimmick, but it's a bit better here since a lot more room to actually run around and collect things here. And I kind of like the up section. I think that's alright. Getting rid of the bombs before you actually run out of time, before you get crushed or something. I don't know actually what happens, but yeah, that's a decent. And Yeah, it's alright, I suppose, it's alright. Right next up is Tropical Resort Act 6 from Sonic Colors. This stage is just a bit too short for my liking, honestly. I mean, the spinning platforms are annoying, especially the last section, where once again, you have to stand on a button and wait for the platforms to move. It was never great, don't bring it back, learn your lesson, and yeah, on to the next stage, which is Gameland 4-2 from Sonic Colors. I think this is kind of a short stage, but it's quite fun, because 3D for starters, and for some reason, they chuck in the Aero Chaser gimmick from Sonic Unleashed where they create the, you know, the laser trail thing, and this is the only time they ever use it. Not in Terminal Velocity, not in any of the other stages in the game, but only in this one Gameland stage. The last about 40 seconds do they use it. This is only pretty fun, but yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's just a one-time thing and then that's it. You don't really want to go back to the stage ever again, to be honest with you, except if you're having to replay Gameland like me for a video. But yeah, apart from that, it's not great. It's not great. Right on to Gameland 4-3 from Sonic Colors. This stage, I do remember this stage. This is that one where you climb up to the tower or whatever it is on the yellow platforms, walls are closing in, and it's, I don't know how to feel about this one, man. I mean, you do kind of like the basic platforming because, like I said earlier, I don't hate blocky platforming, this doesn't suit Sonic, but it's just still pretty fun, to be honest with you, but yeah. Right, next stage, we're finally taking a break from Sonic Colors, which is Cyberspace 4-9 from Sonic Frontiers. Now, this will probably be a hot take here, because I think people quite enjoy this stage, but me personally, it's not a good stage. Not in the slightest. For starters, the skateboarding sections are just boring. Like, one thing I just find extremely weird about them is that for Sonic to do tricks on the trick ramps, you don't press the jump button as you touch the ramp, you press it after you're going off the ramp, which makes zero sense. And then to top it all off, you can't boost here, which is weird. I mean, I know you could do that in SA2, but that wasn't a boost game, was it? We had boosting in Generation on the skateboard and it was great there, but you can't do it here. And then the one platforming section here is way too short-lived. I mean, it's alright, I suppose, but yeah. Then you have the final skateboard section, which is just more the same from the first section, honestly. Might even be worse, to be honest with you, since Red Rings in the first section are a lot better, to be honest with you. But yeah, next stage is Asteroid Coast Act 3 from Sonic Colors. Now, this was the final use of the Golden Spring section, and I think it's done the best here because it's the shortest section. It's like the entire stage, so that kind of redeems it a bit. And plus you can speed on the stage to do it in like 6 seconds, so that's also a plus, I suppose. But yeah, on to the next stage, which is Gameland 3-1. I don't remember the stage. Yeah, moving on. I don't have any thoughts on it. Right, next up is Final Judgment from Sonic Forces. Now this is like Terminal Velocity, Act 1 from Sonic Colors, but without the pizzazz. I don't know. I mean, I do like the quick stepping sections here, but yeah, it's kind of a boring stage, to be honest with you. Nothing too interesting. My next stage is Gameland 5-1 from Sonic Colors. I think this is, yeah, this is it that recreates Labyrinth Zone, doesn't it? That should immediately make it a D tier stage. Why? Oh god, why would you want to recreate Labyrinth Zone? I have no idea why they decided to do that, but in all fairness, this is better than Labyrinth Zone because the original Labyrinth Zone didn't really use any momentum in that stage, so it kind of works here a bit better. Especially with the infinite jump Sonic has in water now in this game for some reason. Right, next up we have Gameland 4-1 from Sonic Colors. Now I think this is a stage that reuses level design from Spring Yard Zone from Sonic 1. And that's not a horrible stage to reuse from, except for those waiting platforming sections. Those are a bit annoying, but I guess it works. Do kind of spice it up a bit here with the balloons and stuff like that. It's still a better stage than Labyrinth Zone, so it's not as bad as that. Right, next up it is the first Sonic Unleashed stage, Savannah Citadel Act 2. I think we can all see why this is here because it is fun, don't get me wrong. Working out how the drift works here is actually really fun when you get it down, but apart from that, it's kind of just drifting, and that's really it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a heck of a lot better than Cyberspace 3-5, don't get me wrong, but yeah, still not amazing, so yeah, that's why it's down here. Right, next up is Cyberspace 1-1 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, this stage just reused from Sonic Unleashed pretty much, except it waters it down with the worst controls, though homing dashing over the one section with the spring that's in the air, that's kind of fun. But yeah, Sonic's control, his turning here, it's not great. And then the fact there's no drift here too, like in the original stage, drifting in that first section was so much fun, loved that. And then even in this this stage here, they remove a lot of the quick stepping sections here, like that one quick stepping section at the end with the sparks is gone here. And yeah, just in general, the stages have the same magic as the original stage, so yeah, that's why it's down here. Right, next up is Lost Valley from Sonic Forces. Now, this stage is kind of boring, not gonna lie. I mean, it's a given to be honest with you, since pretty much all the 3D sections, for the first part anyways, are just straight lines. And then even when there are some branching pathways, they're just more the same, just straight lines, just boosting, and then that's it. Now, the one saving grace of this stage, though, is the 2D section. Just like a lot of 2D sections in Forces, there's always at least 2 pathways, and in Lost Valley's case, it's the upper and lower pathway. Now, I'm not gonna lie, trying to use the boost jumps and the air boost to stay on the top pathway is actually really satisfying, not even gonna lie. I actually really like that, but yeah. It's not an amazing section, a bit too short, but not horrible, not horrible. Right, next up we have Gameland 5-2 from Sonic Colors. And this is actually the highest Gameland stage on the tier list, and you'd think I'd remember it because of that, but I don't, so yeah. Oh well, moving on. To Cyberspace 2-4 from Sonic Frontiers. Now this might be a surprising one to a lot of people, but I think this stage is actually pretty bad, not gonna lie. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, all it is Sonic boosting in a straight line, then you got some of the worst red ring locations I've ever seen in a Sonic game, especially those last 2. Who? And I mean who? So those 2 last red ring locations were acceptable. One is on a straight line on the main pathway, then, after you finish the loop-de-loop, you get the 5th one. That is the worst location for a red ring I've ever seen. Hands down. It doesn't get worse than that. And then the parts where you're not just boosting in a straight line, it's just alright, I suppose. It's just shortened Radical Highway. Like, they made Radical Highway into a 40-second stage. Like, how do you do that? I don't understand. And then you got no rail mechanics like an SA2, so rail grinders that feel as good, and in general, not a great stage, man. Not a great stage. Right, next up we have Asteroid Coaster Act 5 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this stage isn't amazing. All you do is just use laser on the blocks everywhere. Then you got more the standing on the switches for those little laser thingies or whatever they are. Though not gonna lie, because he uses the laser wisp, it is kind of fast paced, and friend wisp sections aren't half bad either, so I don't hate this stage honestly, though it's not amazing, so yeah. Right, anyways, moving on to the next stage, Sweet Mountain Act 6 from Sonic Colors. This stage is alright, it's just alright I think, but not enough to be in the C tier I don't think, because it's just too short, man. And then honestly using the spike wisp is actually really funny. It's skiving the entire stage. Then you got the blue cube wisp sections that are a bit boring, not gonna lie. And then honestly the Jade Wisp is only the best part of the stage in the ultimate version. The Jade Wisp section only just save a lot of these stages, but yeah. It's just not amazing, not great. Not bad, but not enough to be in the C tier though. Round to the next stage, which is Starlight Carnival Act 4. Yeah, it's kind of another similar situation to the previous stage where you got some fun Frenzy Whip sections, and it is a bit annoying in the final section of the stage with the Frenzy Whip how sometimes his jump just won't come out, especially when in the top section, which is really annoying because there's a red ring at the end of that section. If you can't keep the Frenzy Whip going, you're going to end up missing the red ring, and yeah, that is really annoying. But apart from that, not amazing, but not terrible. Right, next up is Starlight Carnival Act 2 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, another similar situation to the previous stage, though this is a lot more interesting because obviously you got the Spike Wisp here. Then obviously this 3D section in particular is actually pretty well designed with how many pathways and how many areas you actually go to. Then obviously you got the Cube Wisp here. There is one scary red ring at the bottom of the stage. You know the one I'm talking about. You got those 4 bomb blocks things. And then yeah, if you're too slow, fumble the bag there, you're dead. Though unfortunately in Ultimate you got the tail save, so yeah, a bit of a disappointment there. But in the original though, that's a pretty cool section, I do like that. Right, next up is Luminous Forest from Sonic Forces, and yeah, do I need to explain myself here? Like really? 3D section is basically the definition of boost to win, literally. Then mostly on the saving grace of this stage is the 2D section. The 2D section of this stage is actually pretty interesting. You've got a top, middle, and a bottom pathway here, so they spice it up a bit here, so that's nice. And yeah, boosting while trying to stay on the top pathway is pretty fun. Though I think it's not as engaging as in Lost Valley, because in Lost Valley you have to do some boost jumps, but in Luminous Forest it's jumping while boosting, which might sound like the same thing, but it's definitely not. Right, moving on to Planet Wisp Act 4 from Sonic Colors. Now this is one of the original stages for Planet Wisp, and it's not great, probably my least favourite original stage in the game, to be honest with you, because yeah, that 2D section is booty cheeks, not gonna lie, it's not good at all. And then the 3D section is just drift the stage, and then that's it. And yeah, 2D section is annoying because of the moving platforms, and I swear to god, getting that laser wisp on that first moving platforming section is so goddamn annoying. You either have to risk it by moving along with the platforms, or you sit on the side and just wait, like a person waiting for the suitcase in an airport. It's just boring. Why am I sat here doing absolutely nothing on a Sonic stage? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why? But I will admit, the sections after you use the Rocket Wisp in the first section is actually surprisingly pretty nice. I like that. But apart from that, it's pretty... it's not great, it's not great. Right, moving on to the next stage, which is Tropical Resort Act 4 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this is a great stage. It is kind of short, and you got a decent gimmick with the... what they call the things that shoot the spikes and rings? I don't know what they're called, but yeah. It's a decent gimmick, but it's, like I said earlier, it's too short. And yeah, it's kind of using the worst section of Tropical Resort Act 1. That 2D section is not great. But I do like how there's 2 gold rings here. And then the second one actually gives you a 3D section, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, nothing more memorable apart from that. Right then, we're on to the top of the D tier, which is Radical Highway Act 2 from Sonic Generations 3DS. Yeah, not gonna lie, in general, the 3DS version of Generations is not good. It's not good at all. Especially this stage is the worst of it. It starts out with turning the route of Radical Highway into a 2D stage, which is pretty cool in concept, but with the second half of the stage, what happened, man? What happened? So many bottomless pits, so much boring platforming, and then, my god, Sonic's control here, his jump, it feels like Super Mario 1, but a bit better, where if you jump forward, you have to commit to it. And especially at this point in the game, you don't have the stomp either. It is absolute hell. Like, oh my god, I hated this stage so much, man. I was literally just fearing for my life, but I won't lie, it was very engaging though. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it's bad, but it was extremely annoying. And yeah, it's why it's at the top of the D tier. And that first section with the remake of the original Radical Highway in 2D, that's pretty alright, but yeah, once again, the second half of the stage and Sonic's control really ruin it, man. Really ruin it. Right then, we're on to the C tier now. Finally, some stages I actually kind of like. And what a better way to start it off with Terminal Velocity Act 2 from Sonic Colors. Now, it might be a bit surprising why this stage is so high, because it has probably some of the most boring level design in the entire game. But the thing that saves it for me, personally, for this stage in particular, is the set piece. This stage was not a necessary addition to the game at all. The fact they added it in, just... I don't know, man. It's just so credit-worthy. I mean, you got the remix of Act 1 here, which sounds absolutely phenomenal. The music is on point here. And then the fact that Sonic doesn't actually win. He gets sucked in by the black hole. That is amazing. But yeah, unfortunately, it can't go any higher than a C tier because, yeah, it's kind of a basic stage, some quick stepping. Yeah, nothing too interesting here. But yeah, set piece is amazing, man. Amazing. Right, the next stage is Terminal Velocity, Act 1 from Sonic Colors. Now, it's no secret as to why this stage is higher than the first one, but there's no amazing set piece like the black hole from Act 2. The view here is amazing. Seeing the entire amusement park from just running along the stage is really cool, man. It's really cool. And especially for the Wii too, this stage looks absolutely beautiful, man. Just amazing, man, amazing. And even without the black hole, it's still a great set piece in itself, but the level design is kind of boring. It's just an auto-scroller with a lot of quick stepping, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it is engaging, I'm not gonna lie, especially that last crab section, but yeah. Still not amazing though. It just survived the D tier because of the set piece alone. Right, next up is Planet Wisp Act 6 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this is one of the original stages of Sonic Colors, and yeah, it's not amazing, not gonna lie. That 2D section is garbage. I don't like the 2D sections. I mean, the first one's alright, but the second 2D section is basically the same problem as Sonic Carnival Act 6, with some very small platforms you have to jump on to get to all the way to the top where the gold ring is, but my god, at least this section has a side section where you can actually get the spike hooks to climb up it. That's a lot better. But then the 3D section that actually opens up with this stage, that's actually pretty solid. I like how if you don't attract the enemies in that one section, you actually go into a skydiving section where the red ring is. That is really cool. I like that. That's really cool, that. Right, next up is Secret Stage 3 from Sonic Forces. Now, this is actually alright stage. Probably the first one that was actually pretty decent. Now, surprise, surprise, it's not a long stage by any means, but they do quite a bit to actually flesh the level design out here. You have the jumping down with the bomb blocks and stuff like that, having to jump very quickly before actually explode, and then you got no floor beneath you so you fall into a death pit. Then chaining some homing attacks onto springs in that one section, that's pretty fun, and yeah. Overall, it's not a horrible stage. I think it's kind of just alright. It's just alright. Right, next up we have Aquarium Park Act 3 from Sonic Colors. And this stage is, it's alright. I mean, you can actually skip pretty much everything by just staying on the lower path in the water. That's pretty cool, I suppose. And then actually going up and using the rocket to the upper sections, that's really cool. Especially if you have the Jade Wisp, you can actually find some new areas with that in the ultimate version of the game, which is pretty cool. And then using the Frenzy Wisp in that one section here too, you get so many damn rings. Like, my god, so many. And yeah, not gonna lie, keeping that full ring count after you beating the stage, that is really satisfying. I do like that about the stage. Right, next up we have Extra Stage 1 from Sonic Forces. Yeah, this is another decent one. Actually some pretty decent platforming here as well. Some nice use of the boost here, conserving it throughout the stage to actually get to the goal quickly. Yeah, pretty fun stage overall, honestly. Obviously it's kind of short, so it's never going to reach across a C tier or something like that, but still, nevertheless, Colors could take some notes from this, honestly. It doesn't break the pace because you obviously keep the flow going, some nice platforming, and yeah, overall, a decent stage. Some difficulty here too. Right, next up we have Extra Stage 4 from Sonic Forces. This stage, once again, pretty damn fun. A decent stage, keep the flow going with the boost. Make sure you don't use the boost in every single section or else you're gonna die. And yeah, overall a solid stage. Right, next up we have Green Hill Act 2 from Sonic Generations 3DS. Yeah, this stage is alright, I suppose. It is an intro stage too, so I can't really discredit it that much. But there have been so many more interesting opening stages, like even in the 2D games too, like Colors DS. You got the one in Rush Adventure, one in Sonic Unleashed, Rush. There's a lot more interesting stages here, honestly. Kind of just the bare minimum, though. The last section with the falling Tiki, that's kind of cool, honestly. There's a lot of cool stuff with the 3D stuff in Generations 3DS, which I kind of appreciate, so fair game, fair game. Right, next up we have Casino Night Act 2 from Sonic Generations 3DS. Once again, kind of similar to the previous stage, honestly. Not too interesting, kind of basic, but once again, some cool stuff with the 3D stuff. Like there's that one section where you jump from those what are those called? I have no idea, kind of forgotten, not gonna lie, but yeah, jumping from one of those things to the other one, kind of cool, man. Nice set piece here, and honestly the music is absolutely amazing here. Love the music here too, but yeah, kind of like a very, very basic casino stage, honestly. Very watered down from the original, which is a bit of a shame, but oh well. Right, next up we have Tropical Resort Act 5 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, another chopped down stage in Sonic Colors, but this one's kind of decent since you got the 3D section here. Kind of saves it a bit, gives it a bit more spice. And then also just using the Spike Wisp here is actually really fun. Pretty much skipping the first section, just using the Spike Wisp is actually a lot of fun. And then yeah, using the Laser Wisp here too. A lot of fun in this stage, honestly. A lot of fun. Right, next up we have Air Raid Sands Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed. Now this stage is actually a lot of fun. Gives you a lot of adrenaline, but it's essentially just a QTE stage and that's really it. There are some sections where you can explore and find some medals, but essentially the stage is a QTE. And that's why it's not a lot higher on the list. Though I do actually have a lot of fun with it. It's a lot of fun, but even still, it is still just a QTE. Right, next up we have another Sonic Unleashed stage, Windmill Isle Act 1. And yeah, no surprise here. Opening stage, but not amazing. Kinda short, but not horrible. A lot better than 1-1 from Sonic Frontiers. And I can't let this stage slide too because this was the first iteration of the boost formula in 3D, so yeah, whole new moveset, different controls, so yeah. This is basically the tutorial stage anyways. Right, next up we have Skyscraper Scamper Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, this stage is really short. It's not bad, but yeah, it's really short. I think if it was a bit longer, it'd be a lot higher on this because this stage is actually really scary because you're on these thin, very thin platforms to run on. And yeah, quick stepping, and if you fail once, you're dead. Or it could just be a baby and just run and not boost. But who's actually going to do that? Like, if you're doing that, then you see to up your game. Like, come on. Why was Sonic Fun if you're doing that? But yeah, like I said earlier, the stage is a bit too short for my liking, so that's why it's so low. Right, next up is... Oh, wait. It's Gameland 2-2. Never mind. I completely forgot about the stage, honestly. I thought this was... I thought 5- What was it? 5-2, whatever was the highest Gameland stage. But no, this one is. Yeah, can't really remember why... or how this is so high. I mean, it's Gameland, so I won't really remember it. But yeah, I forgot what the stage is, honestly. So it must be a decent stage, I suppose. Yeah. Anyways, moving on to Cyberspace 1-3 Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, this is kind of takes some inspiration from Sonic Colors, Sweet Mountain, and Tropical Resort, as I found out like a couple of days ago. And yeah, it's not a bad stage. A bit too easy, a bit too short, a bit boring, but I can still have some fun with it. I mean, homing dash works wonders here, but yeah, nothing much to say about this here, honestly. Could be a bit longer, to be honest with you. Right, next up is Cyberspace 2-3 Sonic Frontiers. Honestly, the same problems as the previous stage, honestly. A bit too short, not horrible, but this is a bit better since it's a lot more engaging, in my opinion. You got the QT easier. And plus, the Sonic Unleashed level design, always better than Sonic Colors, and yeah. Anyways, moving on to Windmill Isle Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed Wii. Yeah, this is actually a lot better than the HD counterpart of it, surprisingly. Did not expect that, but yeah. It's a pretty decent stage, honestly. There's a lot more to actually master here and actually platform compared to the HD version. And honestly, it's a solid intro stage. Once again, a bit too short, but once again, it's kind of a tutorial since this is the first iteration of the boost. And yeah, this boost formula control set is a lot different to the HD version, so yeah. Right, moving on to Mushroom Hill Act 2 from Sonic Generations 3DS. This is actually surprisingly okay. I mean, yeah, some solid platforming here, nice boost sections, and that rail at the end of the stage, nice set piece. Does it do anything outstanding for Mushroom Hill? I mean, there's no environment change like in the original stage, but it's alright, it's alright. Right, next up is Emerald Coast Act 2 from Sonic Generations 3DS. Another just alright stage, some nice stuff with the gimmicks here, like you got the orcas here, that Sonic has a trick past, and then you got the dolphins too. Home attack on those, that's pretty cool. Level design's kinda here. Some just long stretches of boosting. Loops don't feel as good as the original stage, honestly, because they're a bit too big. And then you got some scary platform with the lower section of the stage, I will say. But yeah, once again, just an stage, it's alright. Right, next up is Sky Babylon Act 1 from Sonic Rush Adventure. Not gonna lie, this stage really just disappointed me when I first played it, because, not gonna lie, I didn't enjoy Rush Adventure all that much, mostly for the filler content, but the stages themselves, they're a bit too basic compared to the first Rush, and this stage in particular just really stood out to me that it's just reusing straight from Altitude Limit from Sonic Rush. And yeah, it's very obvious here with the gimmicks here, the way the level's structured, and yeah, not a fan of it, and it's kind of like a watered down version of the original stage too. Like, it's a lot easier, and yeah, that's why it's so low here. Right, next up is Extra Stage 6 from Sonic Forces. This is another surprisingly decent extra stage here. A lot of difficulty here, some nice platforming, a bit blocky, yes, but still some surprisingly decent stuff here. Speedrunning here is actually a lot of fun, taking some hits here to use an invincibility frame to get to the goal quicker. Right, next stage is Extra Stage 7 from Sonic Forces. Once again, same as the previous stage, fun, but this has a boost here, so it's a lot more engaging in my opinion, especially as soon as you get the boost capture at the start of the stage. Trying to preserve that one boost capture you get at the start of the stage, it's actually really fun. And then there's that one platforming section at the end of the stage, where if you fall in there, you're dead, which is actually pretty difficult to do, kinda due to Sonic's control, but yeah, it's a decent stage. A good end to the extra stages in Sonic Forces, I will say. Right, next up is Tropical Resort Act 2 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this stage isn't great, not gonna lie, it's not great. 3D is just horrible, it's literally just running on a straight line. It's less engaging than Sonic Forces, honestly, because, yeah, it's so long. At least when you're running on a straight line in Forces, you either have the boost or it's a short section, but not here. This is really boring. But the 2D sections kind of do save it. I like using the Laser Wisp here and then the drill. A lot of fun. And then even the Jade Wisp in the Ultimate version. Once again, a lot of fun here, but, yeah, it's not amazing stage, honestly. It's just Right, next up we have Virtual Reality from Sonic Forces. This stage is actually surprisingly high, but yeah, using the boost here to skip a lot of platforming sections is actually really fun. Then, even though the climbing sections are kind of similar to the extra stages in Sonic Colors, they're a lot more fun here because they're kind of using short bursts, meaning they don't drag on as long, but yeah, even using the timing here too, just as you have to wait for the right time to actually go homing attack all the way to the top. Really a lot of fun here, to be honest with you. Not a bad stage, not a bad stage. Right, next up is Cyberspace 1-6 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, this stage is honestly a decent 2D stage, honestly, it's decent. Not amazing, but it is nice using the drop dash here to get a bit more faster than just using the boost here, but also find the fastest pathway here to get the S rank is a lot of fun. 2D in Frontiers isn't amazing because of how slow Sonic is, that kind of ruins it here. But yeah, it's a decent stage, it's decent. Right, next up is Cyberspace 1-4 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, this is kind of a basic 3D stage, not gonna lie. Basically taking that great stage from Sonic Generations, but heavily reducing it to nothingness. I mean, the 3D sections in the original stage were never the highlight of the stage, honestly, in my opinion. It was definitely the 2D sections, but yeah, once you strip that out, the stage is kinda just a straight line, essentially. And then it's even worse in this version because the bridge skip in the real stage is slower now here than the actual regular pathway, which is stupid. Like, why is that the case here? That defeats the whole purpose of taking a shortcut and using the actual moveset to find different pathways. But yeah, it's still fun, especially using the homing dash to skip a lot of sections. There's jumping through loops, but yeah, not a great stage though. It's just mediocre. Right, next up we have Cyberspace 1-7 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, end of the stage, kind of similar to Radical Highway, basically 2-4 in this game. But it's a lot better in this stage because it's actually a lot more engaging here compared to that stage. I mean, you have to do a lot more jumping here, a lot more platforming and stuff here. Actual pole swings actually mean something here. And yeah, once again, you got none of the SA2 rail mechanics here, so that's a bit of a letdown. But still, it's a fun stage to just blast through. especially since you got the boost formula here too. Never been done before for this type of stage. Generations does it count? Okay, they kind of reworked it there for the boost, but here it's just ripping that level down from SC2 and chucking it here, and it works surprisingly well with the Frontiers boost, so yeah. Right, next up is Cyberspace 3-1 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, similar situation to the previous stages, honestly, in terms of the adventure tour stages in this game, but this one's alright since you got more platforming here. But the half-pipe sections here that were from the original stage are horrible now, because trying to stay in the middle lane rather to get those rings is really awkward. Like, I don't know why it's so bad now, but it is. And then yeah, the stage as a whole is shorter compared to the original, but nevertheless it's still pretty fun. Though I do really like speedrunning the stage with the homing dash. That is a lot of fun with the stage. Like skipping all the loops and everything. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Right, next up is Cyberspace 2-2 from Sonic Frontiers. Not gonna lie, I was about to put this stage above the original stage because of how the jump works here, but I didn't because the homing attack kinda ruins it here. Like, you just stop all your movement. Whereas in the original, you actually just flow nicely with the homing attacks too. I think in the original stage 2 you got the electric spinners, whereas here you don't have any electric buzz bombers, which is a bit of a disappointment. But yeah, it's not as good as the original stage in my opinion. Though it's close though, because next up you have Dragon Road Act 3 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, it's essentially just slightly better than the previous stage that I just mentioned, except you got a lot better movement in my opinion. And yeah, it's a lot more fun in my opinion here because the boost is faster. Right, next up we have Eggman's Facility from Sonic Forces. I know people don't like this stage a lot because of the water slide gimmick, but me personally, I don't mind it. Has a bit of challenge to the stage, a bit of variety, a bit of unpredictability because of how the stage works. You'll never know what to expect with how much the stage throws you around, but yeah, it's essentially just a better Aqua Road but with boosts, so can't really be mad at it to be honest with you, but yeah. It's still just a stage, it's just Right, next up is Cyberspace 4-6 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, this is alright stage. It's an alright stage. Fun to speedrun, I will say. Especially when you're in that last section, which I absolutely hated at first, but learned how to do it properly and now it's pretty fun. Once again, it's just an alright 2D stage. Just alright. Right, next up we have Cyberspace 4-7 from Sonic Frontiers. Yep, this is another one of the original stages in the game, and it's not amazing. It's nice to have a new 3D original stage in the game, but I don't know, man, it's kind of alright. I mean, there's a lot of just simple homing attacks here, and then that last section of just homing attacks that spring over and over again is probably one of the least interesting things about the entire game, to be honest with you. It's kind of boring, not gonna lie, but apart from that, it's pretty interesting, man. Pretty interesting. The section with the fans is nice, so I will say. Right, next up is Cyberspace 2-5 from Sonic Frontiers. Another decent 2D stage in this game. A lot of people don't like it because it doesn't work for the moveset, but I personally don't mind it. It's a bit fun to speedrun, honestly. But yeah, the fact that Sonic can't do more than one air boost until he touches the ground again kind of ruins it a bit, especially on those vine things. And what makes it even worse is how slow Sonic is when climbing on those vine things too. Very annoying. But yeah, all in all, not a horrible 2D stage. Right, next up is Cool Edge Act 3 from Sonic Unleashed, one of the DLC stages. Yeah, this is kind of like the Savannah Citadel Act 2 stage, but ramped up now. It's a lot more involved now with the drifting and everything. Got stuff to quick step here too. But the thing is, it's kind of annoying when those little narrow sections kind of just boost in a straight line, because Sonic just goes everywhere, man. He keeps falling off. It's really, really annoying, man, sometimes. Really annoying, but still, really fun, really fun. Right, next up is Cyberspace 2-1 from Sonic Frontiers. This is a good 2D stage, I'd say. I'd say it's good, but it's kind of lacking in some sections because while it is fun to actually use the road that actually works in this stage for some reason, yeah, it doesn't have the same magic as the real stage once again, because Sonic is so goddamn slow. And that's the same problem as 1-4 too, where one of the shortcuts that would be fast in the original stage is slower here because of Sonic's slow ground speed. Like the one wall jumping section is actually slower than taking the rail now because the rail's faster than running on the ground, which is strange, but homing direction here is actually really fun, skipping entire portions of stages here. And then, like I said earlier, rolling actually works quite well here, so go ahead and use that, but yeah, a decent 2D stage overall. Right, next up is Cyberspace 4-8 from Sonic Frontiers. Now this stage caught me off guard when I first played because of how short it was, but surprisingly the S rank is actually pretty solid here, pretty solid S rank, because you have to take the fastest pathway here. So yeah, honestly the S rank kind of saved this stage, to be honest with you. If it was of the S rank, this stage might even be in a D tier because of how boring it kind of is without the S rank, but yeah, not an amazing stage, but S rank kind of saves it, honestly. Right, next up we have Haunted Ship Act 1 from Sonic Rush Adventure. Yeah, this stage is kind of annoying, not gonna lie. When you keep getting knocked down from the top of those blue things, and then the blue skull heads keep slowing you down. then those barrels are a strange gimmick, but oh well. But yeah, overall this stage is that fun, but obviously the trick system, that saves it, just like any rush stage, honestly. Right, next up we have Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces. Honestly, just a solid stage. Nothing more, nothing less, just a solid stage. A bit too short once again, and 3D is kind of just a long straight roads of nothing for the first half of the stage, but there's kind of cool to speed on it a bit too. Once again, 2D section, a lot more interesting than 3D here. Basically, Forces stages in a nutshell is that 2D kind of saves it when it's there. But I will say, just air boosting over that one quick stepping section is a lot of fun, honestly. It's a lot of fun doing that in Forces in general, honestly, using the air boost. Really saves the game, honestly. If the air boost was there like Frontiers, then it'd be garbage, not gonna lie. But overall, a fun but short stage. Next up is Cyberspace 3-2 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, this stage takes from the 2D section of Savannah Stage Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed, but it makes it kind of fun, actually, not gonna lie. Some actual original level design in the mix here, which is pretty cool, I suppose. But yeah, the S rank is actually kind of tight here, which I do like. It makes my incentive to actually go ahead and replay the stage, but yeah, just overall a fun 2D stage, man. A fun 2D stage. Right, next up is Cyberspace 1-5 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, this is honestly just a watered down version of the original stage, but it is kind of cool to use the homing attack to skip a lot of the stage here, which is pretty nice, I suppose. Can be used for speedrunning a lot here. And I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of multiple pathways here, so that's something, but again, not much credit because that was in the original stage. Right, next up is Metropolitan Highway from Sonic Forces. Yeah, the highlight of this stage is honestly this 2D section, to be honest with you, because 3D isn't that great. Because this is the stage where they actually expect you to turn in this game. And yeah, while they kind of automate one of the turns here, a lot of them is very scary. Very, very scary, because Sonic's turning is garbage in this game, and you're so close to falling off, but you don't, so yeah. But like I said earlier, the 2D section is actually pretty fun. It has a nice gimmick with the platforming things that just move by themselves as soon as you touch them. Find that pretty cool. Then you got the trick ones too, where they actually launch you into spikes, so quickly jump out of the way to actually avoid getting hit, then possibly dying. And then skipping that one automated section where you're just watching a cutscene essentially, that is pretty cool too. But yeah, overall not a bad stage, it's decent. Right, next up we have Rooftop Run Act 3 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, this stage wasn't anything amazing. It is finding the Chow and that's pretty much it, but it is pretty fun doing so, not gonna lie. I mean, boosting of the bottomless pits, just getting the wall jumps in quickly, then getting the home attacks and everything. It's pretty fun, honestly. Quite short though, but still pretty fun, honestly. Right, next up is Cool Edge from Sonic Unleashed Wii. Yeah, this stage is a bit annoying, not gonna lie. Especially the sled sections, because trying to turn like at all in this game is garbage, especially when you're boosting. There's like a commit thing. If you're gonna boost or whatever, you're not turning, mate, unless you're drifting. But the sled sections here is so bad, the turning is awful. I don't understand how people think these stages are actually better than the HD versions. Like, my god, the controls here are god awful. But apart from the sled section, honestly, it's pretty fun. I'm not really too used to these controls, honestly. I'm kind of used to the HD version still, because I'm trying to turn all the time when boosting, but that's obviously not going to work. But yeah, still pretty fun. Right, next up is Jungle Joyride Act 5 from Sonic Unleashed. Honestly, this might be one of the weaker DLC stages in the game. It's not really bad per se, but I feel like it's kind of lacking in some areas. Like, there's barely anything here. This essentially just comes down to a bit of water running and then an aero chase section, and that's essentially it. And it is fun, don't get me wrong, some things to dodge here on the water, for example. And then that corkscrew actually is pretty cool too, but apart from that, not really too interesting of a stage, which is why it's so low, but yeah. Right, next up is Savannah Citadel Act 4 from Sonic Unleashed. Yet again, another DLC stage. Now this stage is actually pretty interesting, not gonna lie, but it's kind of short and there's a lot of stuff that can go extremely weird here with the homing attack. For example, in one section, sometimes Sonic can just float in the air for a bit before he actually goes into the thing that he's supposed to be homing attack onto, and that's a bit annoying, not gonna lie. And then yeah, in general, it has a bit of waiting stuff, pressing buttons and stuff like that, like we said earlier. That doesn't really work for Sonic, but it's not horrible. There's a skill ceiling here which I do like, but yeah, apart from that, not too interesting of a stage, but it's not bad, it's not bad. Right, next up is Dragon Road Act 4 from Sonic Unleashed. And the end of the DLC stage, and honestly, for most of these DLC stages, the short ones anyways, it kind of boils down to them having not enough in them. Like, they end too short in my opinion, and there's not enough variety inside the actual stage. It's still good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, man. I think there needs to be a bit more in it for it to be a proper, fully fleshed out stage. And once again, they're not bad, but yeah, there could be a bit more in there. Same goes for this stage, honestly. It's good, but it could be expanded upon a bit more. I mean, that one 2D section, I'm pretty sure it's 2D anyways, where you got the pole things and then you're having to get across those with the spike balls and everything. Same thing when they do it in 3D too. That's pretty cool, but yeah, it's too short-lived, honestly. It's like a better Forces stage, but still it's a bit too short. Right, next up we have Cyberspace 3-7 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, once again, another just decent 2D stage. And yeah, once again, it's a bit too slow in my opinion, and the drop dash can't be used that well here, to be honest with you, since it's just a lot of on rails and platforming and everything here. And then this is just ripped from Generations, and then because it's only 2D, it takes out the water slide section from the original stage and then the skydiving section, so it feels kind of empty, but at the same time, it's still Generations level design, so it's pretty decent nevertheless. Right, next up is Cyberspace 3-4 from Sonic Frontiers. Now this stage is essentially inspired from that one stage in Sonic Unleashed, Windmill Isle Act 3, but they take out the 3D sections, which make it kind of empty, and plus the controls don't really help that well too, because Sonic is so slow in 2D, and that carries over unfortunately to the rail momentum too. Like in the open Sonic Frontiers, rail momentum is really good there, but in 2D unfortunately, yeah, it's not that great, but it's not a bad stage, not a bad stage at all. I do like how they spiced it up with the laser mechanic here. I find that pretty cool. That was in the original stage, but yeah, apart from that, it's just alright. It's an alright stage. Right, next up we have Savannah Citadel, Act 3 from Sonic Unleashed. Honestly, I think this stage is the perfect example of short but sweet. Because this stage is actually really short, about 30 seconds if that. But what you do in those 30 seconds is truly remarkable. This stage is essentially a lap stage, but in 2D. And then to start off, the sunset looks absolutely beautiful here. Love the sunset here. But this stage is so fast paced, so many fast reactions that you just can't help but love it. Like you got your light dashing here, homing attacks, platforming, rails. And then just finding that fastest pathway to get to the goal quickly is just beautiful, man. I love it. But sadly, like I said earlier, it is short, so I can't really put it any higher than this, but if this stage was longer, this stage would honestly just might be an 80th stage, not gonna lie, if we kept the same flow of gameplay. Like this stage is just really good, man, really good. Right, next up is Cyberspace 4-5 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, not gonna lie, this stage is actually surprisingly decent. It feels very inspired by that one stage in Sonic Unleashed, Cool Edge Act 4, but it's not exactly just ripped from that. It just takes the same idea of air boosting over gaps to get to the next platforming section, which is pretty cool, not gonna lie. Like, this is the type of stuff they should have been doing in Forces, man. Like, with that air boosting Forces, this is how they could have made some level design for that game. But unfortunately, they did it, so it's here, I guess, but with a very nerfed air boost. So I like the idea, but it would have been a lot better in Forces in my opinion, but nevertheless, it's still a good stage. But once again, a bit too short and lacking in a bit of difficulty in my opinion. But apart from that, solid stage, man, solid stage. And you'll be very surprised to hear that next up we have Cool Edge Act 4 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, basically it's just the previous stage but better, honestly. I mean, the air boost is just much better here, so having to air boost from platform to platform is a lot better compared to the previous stage. And while this stage, if you're doing it quickly, lasts pretty much the same length as the previous stage, you still do quite a lot here, from stomping, QTEs, light dashing to rainbow rings. Like, it's a cool stage, man, cool stage. Pun entirely intended. Okay, I'll stop. Right, next up we have Water Palace Act 2 from Sonic Generations 3DS. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the reason this stage is only here is because it pretty much just takes Rush's level design, and obviously that's very good, but it's not got the same magic as Rush because there's no trick system here, and yeah, the physics aren't really that great here either. But nevertheless, it is still Rush level design, which is very good, but just very watered down, so yeah, it's just gonna sit right here. Right then, it's time for the top of the C tier, which is Tropical Resort Act 2 from Sonic Generations 3DS. Yeah, similar to the last stage here, this takes a lot of inspiration from Tropical Resort on the DS version of Sonic Colors, but in this case, I feel like it drags on a bit too long. Though I will say though, that last rail section with the, what's it called, meteors falling down, that's pretty cool. But yeah, once again, it's Sonic Generations 3DS, so the control isn't all that great, and then some of the level design decisions too is questionable. Right then, we're on to the B tier now, starting off with Jungle Joyride Act 4 from Sonic Unleashed. Yep, another DLC stage, and yeah, this one's better than Act 5, though once again, it suffers from the same problems of it being not as fleshed out and too short, and not being much in here, but it's a heck of a lot better since you got some platforming here, QTEs, then you got some water running here too. I mean, it's just a lot better overall. Right, next up is Tropical Resort Act 1 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, to be honest with you, this is probably just the most alright opening stage for a Sonic game, not gonna lie. I mean, it does its job. Teaches you how to play the game, got some nice visuals, music, teaches you how to use some wisps when you come back to the stage later on where you have some more wisps. And then you got a solid S rank for this too, so yeah, can't hate on this stage, can't hate. Right, next up is Arid Sands Act 3 from Sonic Unleashed. It's another finding the Shao stage similar to Rooftop Run Act 3, but this time it's 3D. And I think a stage with an objective like searching for Chao, it would be very open, but the stage feels more open than it actually is. There is sort of a linear path here. If you follow that, you pretty much find all the chow instantly. Like sometimes you'll be overlooking for them when they're literally just in plain sight. But nevertheless, it's still a fun stage overall, and their S rank is pretty nice, so gotta hand it to them. Right next up is Skyscraper Scamper Act 3 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, this one isn't all that amazing, but I will say, the zoomed out camera that happens when you're doing that chase sequence with that big robot thing, don't know what it's called, that is really cool. Like, that is really cool. But to be honest with you, this entire stage is just quick stepping, and that's really it, to be honest with you. I mean, there's one section at the end where you have to defeat some enemies to show the gold ring, but apart from that, it's essentially just some quick stepping, but it's the most involved quick stepping you'll ever play in a Sonic game, to be honest with you. Right next up is Rooftop Run Act 4 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, once again, another just quick stepping stage, but this time it's actually some more stuff involved in the quick stepping because you got some hops to do, and then even dodging into a dash panel or else you're gonna die, and then these arrow chases does not give you a break at all, setting fire and everything here. But once again, it's just quick stepping and it's a bit too short too, so can't give it any more credit than this, but still nevertheless as a decent stage. Right next up is Tropical Resort Act 2 from Sonic Colors DS. And yeah, even without the trick system in this game, it's still a solid title overall. I mean, the Wisp definitely do help a lot. It has the same quality of stages on par with Rush, honestly, so that's why, because this opening stage is going to be so low. Well, one of the opening stages anyways, because this is Act 2, but yeah. Right next up, you have Tropical Resort Act 1 from Sonic Colors DS, and yeah, basically, a great opening stage, honestly. Same philosophy as the main version of this game, where returning to the stage with the Wisps is a lot more fun, because you got the Burst Wisp here. And the gimmick with the Ferris wheel thing with the Burst Wisp is actually pretty darn cool, not gonna lie. And then the fact that the Burst Wisp actually burns the flowers too, that is really cool. But yeah, overall, it's just an opening stage, so there's not gonna be anything too crazy here. Right next up is Planet Kingdom Act 2 from Sonic Rush Adventure. Yeah, once again, another standard opening stage, honestly. But this time, we have the trick system, so that's gonna carry the stage very hard. I like just bouncing along the mushrooms and just doing all the tricks and everything. And especially with the enhanced trick system too, with the double jump and the sweeping kick, whatever it is, spinning thing, whatever it's called. It's just a lot of fun racking up combos with the trick system here, but honestly, the stage is not that amazing. It's just a lot of bouncing around and then some loop-de-loops, and that's really it, to be honest with you. Nothing too interesting. I mean, I like that tree gimmick where he throws you into the sky. That's pretty cool. But yeah, apart from that, nothing too amazing about the stage, honestly. Right next up, we have Planet Kingdom Act 1 from Sonic Rush Adventure. And yeah, basically more of the same as the previous stage, but I find Act 1 to be a bit better for some reason. But yeah, Act 2 kind of just, I don't know what Act 2 is. It just feels like more than Act 1, but nothing really changes, which is why Act 1 feels a lot more special, but yeah. Right next up is Blizzard Peaks Act 1 from Sonic Rush Adventure. This is a cool stage, but not gonna lie, I was kind of underwhelmed by Blizzard Peaks as a whole. I was really looking forward to Blizzard Peaks because of the music I'd heard before playing the game, but when I played it for this tier list, kind of underwhelming, not gonna lie. It's kind of a simple stage, especially for the 6th zone in the game. I mean, when you compare that to Altitude Limit, this stage has nothing on that. I mean, the skateboarding is cool, but it's so basic, and then it's like for half of the stage too. I don't know, man. Act 1 is not all that interesting, to be honest with you. Right, and next up we have Blizzard Peaks Act 2 from Sonic Rush Adventure. Yeah, this is basically just a better version of Act 1 without the skateboard and some more interesting stuff, but once again, not all that amazing, to be honest with you, just kind of basic, not gonna lie. Right next up is Sky Babylon Act 2 from Sonic Rush Adventure. This stage heavily improves on Act 1 of this stage, because this stage has its own character now. It doesn't feel like it's just ripping off Altitude Limit, because they have some new gimmicks here with exploding platforms and everything, but nevertheless, it still feels kind of Altitude Limit-y, but not as good, but it's still an alright stage. Right next up is Savannah Citadel Act 3-2 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, this is a DLC version of Act 3, and yeah, it's pretty great, honestly. It has an objective now, we have to get a certain amount of rings, and yeah, it has a lot more incentive to actually be good at the game, getting the fastest path with all the rings and everything, being quick too before the time runs out, and yeah, just an overall more interesting stage than the original counterpart. Right next up is Jungle Joyride Act 3 from Sonic Unleashed, and this stage is short, but once again sweet. This stage is probably the most intense stuff you'll ever play in a Sonic game, not even gonna lie. Like, if you thought doing the first part of Act 1 flawlessly felt amazing, just wait till you get to Act 3 and doing that flawlessly, because my god, it takes some serious skill and fast reaction. They just throw so much at you here. You got to upper layers sometimes, you got the, what's it called, those guillotines, I don't know what they're called. Then you got some hops to do, sliding, avoiding those spinning spike bar things. And yes, overall, really exhilarating, but ends a bit too quickly. Right next up is Mirage Road Act 2 from Sonic Rush, the first Rush stage of the tier list. And that should just show you how quality Rush's stages are. But unfortunately, this stage, I don't know how I feel about it. It feels very similar to Act 1, just not as good. Like Act 1, it feels a lot more original, but then when you go to Act 2, same gimmicks and everything, especially with the final section of the stage being an auto-scroller, but 3D this time. I don't know, man, it feels a bit, I don't know, samey. but nevertheless, it's still a good stage. But yeah, I think I'll prefer Act 1. Well, I don't think, I know I prefer Act 1. Right, next up is Aquarium Park, Act 4 from Sonic Colors. Yep, this is definitely one of the strongest stages in Sonic Colors by far, and even though it is mostly 2D, I still have quite a lot of fun with it. Like, using the drill to find all the red star rings here is actually a lot, and I mean a lot of fun. And then getting the S rank of this stage is absolutely amazing, I love that. But this stage suffers a bit from that crab section. And now it's even worse in Sonic Colors Ultimate 2 because of a bug that doesn't even show where the lizard is even going to start from. Like, that's really annoying. But even without Ultimate's issues, it's annoying that you can't jump over the crab's punching, because you can do that in terminal velocity, but not here, so I don't know why that's an issue here. But even still, trying to time your boost properly to avoid getting hit by the crab is actually really exhilarating because you have to try to keep your rings to get the S rank. But yeah, overall, it's just a solid stage really. Right, next up is, this might surprise some people, but Egg Gate from Sonic Forces. Now I know what you're thinking. A Forces stage in B tier? Unleash, are you feeling alright? And yeah, don't worry, I'm fine. I'm just one of the people who don't think that Forces stages are all that bad. There's some highlights in there. But Egg Gate, especially for an earlier stage in the game, is actually pretty strong for Forces standards. I mean, the gimmicks here are surprisingly good, the scenery, the music, even that small 3D section that opens out the stage is surprisingly decent. I mean, yeah, it is kind of short and a lot of 2D, and then you have an unskippable QTE, but I still find the stage to be pretty decent, not gonna lie. And especially with the context of the stage too, escaping the death with the error shields coming after you and everything, alarms going off. It's a really cool stage, man. I actually really like Egg Gate, not gonna lie. Right, next up is Cyberspace 4-3 from Sonic Frontiers. I'm not even gonna lie to you. When I first played this stage, I thought it was an SA2 stage at first. Like, he had the rails in the middle of the path and on the sides too. Like, it seriously feels like an SA2 stage, but no, it's actually original, which is quite a surprise. I mean, it has a lot of SA2 gimmicks, but it's not an SA2 stage, it's actually original, surprisingly. I think it'd be kind of cool to see the stage ported into SA2 with the real physics there and everything. That'd be awesome, honestly. I think it would work a lot better there compared to here. But even with it being in Frontiers, it's a surprisingly alright stage, but it's a bit too short and the S rank here is unbelievably lenient. 1 minute 40 and I'm beating the stage in about a minute. Like, come on, that's pathetic. But I will say, speedrunning the stage actually a lot of fun. Trying to master those platforming sections perfectly, not to mess up and everything. Getting the homing dashes in at the right place. Very good, very good. Right, next up is Sweet Mountain Act 2 from Sonic Colors. And yeah, this is basically the second half of Act 1, but unfortunately it's the weaker half. You got a lot of 2D here, a very, very basic 3D section, but I do like speedrunning it though. There are some cool shots you can pull off here. And then using that one drill shortcut, it's pretty fun, man. It's a pretty fun stage. Right, next up is Windmill Isle Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed Wii. You know, but as much as I don't really like the controls of this game, I think this stage actually works quite well with it. Even though I haven't mastered it, I can definitely see the potential here, which is why it's on this B tier. There's a lot of tight drifting you have to do here, which I find pretty nice. Then you got a decent 2D section, a lot of multiple pathways here too. But I think that last section kind of kills it for me. That quick step possession with the mini boss there. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest with you, because after you defeat it quite quickly, it's just a long stretch of boosting and doing nothing essentially, which I'm not really a huge fan of. I mean, it is the opening stage, but even for the opening stage, I don't really like that, honestly. But even after all that, it's still quite a good stage, especially for an opener. Right, next up is Windmill Isle Act 3 from Sonic Unleashed. And yeah, this is basically just an improved 3-4 from Sonic Frontiers, but obviously you got the 3D section here too, better controls, better rail momentum as well in 2D. And then the 3D sections as well, actually very fast reaction based too, especially in the last one towards the goal ring. If you mess up once there, you're dead, and I kind of like that, not gonna lie. Especially if it's just in Windmill Isle too, like that's impressive. But sadly, since it's a side stage, it's quite short, but it's still a really good stage, man, really good. Next up we have Machine Labyrinth Act 1 from Sonic Rush Adventure. Yeah, this stage is alright, not too shabby. I don't know if it's just me, but this stage feels like Chemical Plant, honestly. Like, straight up, this is just Chemical Plant. I mean, you got the loops that send you into a spring that send you backwards back into the loop. Then you got the up and down pipe thing section, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it's just a lot of Chemical Plant stuff here. But I guess it does work for Rush gameplays. It's got the spin dash and stuff like that. So it doesn't work horribly. So yeah, can't really discredit it. Right, next we have Cyberspace 3-6 from Sonic Frontiers. Now, I know a lot of people don't like this stage, but I personally don't hate it. It is a bit annoying with the terrible controls that Frontiers has in Cyberspace, but it's not half bad in this game. Obviously, it doesn't feel as good as the original because of the controls and stuff like that, but the level design is pretty much exactly the same, so it's not really a bad level, but yeah, still not as good as the original, so yeah, goes up in the B tier. Right, next we have Haunted Ship Act 2 from Sonic Rush Adventure. And yeah, this is basically just a better Act 1, not annoying vertical section where you keep getting knocked down or anything like that, just a solid stage overall. Still nothing amazing, but it's a good stage nevertheless. Right then, now on to Sweet Mountain Act 3 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, once again, another decent stage from Sonic Colors' original stages. I mean, we have some decent 3D sections here, with some multiple pathways here too, which is always nice. Then we got some very fast-paced 2D sections as well, which is pretty nice too. And yeah, once again, overall, it's a solid stage overall, to be honest with you. Can't really be mad at it, just wish it was a bit longer. Right, next up is Cyberspace 1-2 from Sonic Frontiers. And yeah, I think it's pretty obvious why this stage is here, because 1, it is pretty much reused the Sonic Unleashed level design, so that's always good. And 2, honestly, the main reason it's even here because of the S rank. Like, if it wasn't for the S rank, this stage would probably be in like a C tier or something like that, but because of the S rank alone, it carries this stage because it actually requires you to learn the level design, and finally that's actually pretty decent. While yes, most of it is kind of on rails for like half the stage, but even still, it's still a lot of fun. Right, next up is Cyberspace 2-6 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, this is just a fun stage in general, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a Sonic Adventure 2 stage with some boost mechanics, so what could possibly go wrong, right? Now, this stage does have some issues though. One, that you can't move the camera, that's really annoying because you could do that in the literal stage, and it could help quite a lot if you could do it here. Then 2, the controls. Turning Sonic on those tight platforming sections is really, really annoying. Can definitely lead to a lot of deaths, I imagine. And then 3, the rail sections just aren't as good as Sonic Adventure 2 because they just sat there boosting for a long while. Especially in the second to last rail section where you're just boosting on rails and that's pretty much it. Running out of boost all the time unless you spam the boost, and then yeah, it's just a bit of an annoying stretch, but even still, speedrunning this stage and just using the homie to skip pretty much half the stage is a lot of fun, man, a lot of fun. Right, next up is Tropical Resort Act 3 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this stage isn't half bad, to be honest with you. Some fun 3D sections, some decent platforming there too, which is pretty nice, and then not many multiple pathways in the 3D section, which is, I mean, I guess it is one splitting pathway, but it's not that amazing. But I really like the flow in this stage, honestly. It's goes straight into the 2D section, and if you take the bottom pathway, it's a bit slow there, but taking the top pathway in the 3D section is actually a lot of fun. And then combining all that with the Drill Wisp too, using that to skip pretty much the entire 2D section, and then using the Laser Wisp in the last 2D section too. Man, this stage really just has a lot of flow, man. It helps that it hasn't been split up into another act, but still, it's still a lot of fun, man. Right, next up is Starlight Carnival Act 1 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, honestly, this stage isn't really that interesting of a stage if you think about it. I mean, a lot of the 3D sections is pretty much just auto runners and that's entirely it. Then 2D kind of feel a bit blocky and automated once again because of some of the gimmicks here, but the aesthetic for this stage is just really beautiful, man. I mean, you've literally got Starlight Carnival around you with Sonic running on some sort of light road too, and just overall it's beautiful, man. And then set pieces as well, going from ship to ship in this stage, that is really cool, man. I love that. And yeah, to be honest with you, just the aesthetic really just carries the stage, honestly. It's not even that really interesting of a stage, mechanically or anything like that, but it just looks beautiful, man. Right now to Jungle Joyride for Sonic Unleashed Wii. Yeah, not gonna lie, I was kind of disappointed by the stage. I mean, compared to the original counterpart in the HD version, how phenomenal that was, like comparing it to this 2-minute stage with barely anything in there, I mean, some nice pathways here and there, but a lot of it is just drifting and some boring quick-stepping sections. I mean, man, is really disappointed, man. Especially for the last stage too. Shorter than the first stage. Like, how have they done that? But it's not a horrible stage. Still a lot of fun because of the controls in this game, mastering the drifting and getting all the boosts and everything. But still, a very disappointing stage, especially for one of the last ones in the game. Right, next up is Machine Labyrinth Act 2 from Sonic Rush Adventure. Yeah, this is just once again a better Act 1. A lot more originality with the gimmicks and stuff like that. But still not amazing though. It's not an amazing stage, but still pretty good, man, pretty good. Right, then dive some hot takes, because next up we have Null Space from Sonic Forces. That's right, another Forces stage all the way in the B tier, and it's Null Space. You know, this stage has a really cool aesthetic for the first 15 seconds before I end up just double boosting out of there. Yeah, that one. But if we set that annoying section aside for a minute, the level design in the actual city part of the stage is actually pretty solid, not even gonna lie. I mean, to start off with pretty much entirely 3D, except for one tiny 2D section which can barely count as 2D, to be honest with you. Especially since you can just skip it if you take a certain pathway. But yeah, 3D in this stage kind of has some sort of similar problems to Arsenal Pyramid with the same hordes of enemies over and over. But they're not that plentiful here compared to Arsenal Pyramid. There's only a few of them here. But then we got the platforming here, we got multiple pathways, using all the different ways to take all the different pathways too is a lot of fun. Then they finally use their brains to actually put the red star rings on the alternate pathways rather than the main pathway, which they usually do in this game. And yeah, I can't hate on the stage, man. I can't really hate it. It's just a decent stage overall. Decent stage. But once again, a bit too short, which is just Force in a nutshell, so yeah. Right, next up is Asteroid Coaster Act 6 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this isn't half bad. The first section is pretty cool, a lot of pathways to go there. And the red starring in there is quite difficult to find. You have to take a very specific pathway to get to, which I find kind of cool. But 3D in this stage isn't all that interesting apart from the roller coaster. I mean, I think the only other time we go into 3D is in the middle of the stage, and it's literally just a straight line, which is all that interesting. And then 2D is alright here, some water. Then you got a little mini boss here too, which is it was decent, not too bad. But yeah, as last stage of the game, it does feel kind of final with the mini boss 2 kind of helps towards it. But yeah, a decent stage overall, not amazing though. Next up we have Dragon Road from Sonic Unleashed Wii. Yeah, once again, this stage was as good as the HD version, not by a long mile. But it's not a terrible stage. I do like the aesthetic with the cherry blossom trees at the end, that looks really beautiful. But yeah, I think the controls kind of ruin it here though, not gonna lie. It's kind of annoying having to turn on these tight sections, and then we got these spike spear things that come down too. Trying to avoid those with the drift and everything, not that great. I usually start boosting at those parts, which I don't really want to do because it's a boost game, but oh well. But yeah, a bit short for my liking, but not a terrible stage, not a terrible stage. Definitely a lot to get good at though, which is pretty good. Right, next up is Cyberspace 4-1 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, basically just Metal Harbor but with the boost, which is surprisingly pretty fun in Frontiers' way. I mean, sure, the missile section isn't as fun anymore because there's no time limit, but it's alright. Once again, another fun stage to speedrun, especially with the homing dash. Skipping that missile section with one little fun speedrun trick is actually a lot of fun. But yeah, apart from that, still not amazing. Reuse level design, not as good as the original stage, but yeah, decent. Right, now we're on to Cyberspace 3-3 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, another generation stage, but because Sky Sanctuary, it's already a great stage, and this stage is actually a decent length, honestly. About 1 minute 30, fully 3D, can't go wrong with it, to be honest with you. Obviously, it doesn't feel as good as generation because of the controls once again, but there's a lot more platforming here. They kind of slow it down a bit, which is, I guess, kind of works. Once again, homing dash, a lot of fun to use here. Right, next up we have Rooftop Run from Sonic Unleashed Wii. Again, not as good as the HD version, not at all, but it's not horrible, I suppose. I mean, I do like running on the walls and then doing all the drifting sections, getting the quick steps in too. But then the clock tower is very, very basic compared to the HD version. A lot smaller, which kind of ruins it in my opinion. Then the quick step section at the end, kind of watered down since we got one of those aero chaser guys. But yeah, it's alright. Right, next up is Enemy Territory from Sonic Forces. Yeah, this stage is essentially just a better Sunset Heights, to be honest with you. I mean, more pathways in the 3D section, kind of combining it with the Park Avenue section too. Some better levels on the 3D section as well. And then the 2D section been completely overhauled. And you got the new gimmick with shadows follow the enemies thing, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, actually, it's not easy stage either. It's actually pretty difficult in that 2D section. And yeah, a lot of fun to go fast in speedrun. A lot of fun this stage, man. A lot of fun. Right, next up is Rooftop Run Act 5 from Sonic Unleashed. Unfortunately, the stage is kind of broken by the 60 FPS patch in the game because the last Rainbow Ring does actually send you onto the balloon and sends you over into your death. But even still, it's a pretty fun stage, even though most of it is homing attacking. But if you make one mistake, you're dead, which is, once again, kind of cool. You have to do everything perfectly, like getting all the light dashes in, homing attacks in, and trying to stay on the top path too is kind of difficult, especially in the last section with the up and down springs, and then you all the enemies that shoot at you straight down, sniping you out of the air. Very annoying there sometimes, but still very fun. Right, now we have Mortar Canyon from Sonic Forces. Yeah, this is probably one of the best stages in the game, honestly. I mean, it's fully 3D, a lot of pathways here, and I'm actually using the slide here too. Now, I think the stage gets run by this one dash pad in the middle of the stage, where you pretty much skip like an entire chunk of the stage for some reason, and there's a red ring there too. But if you just don't check that dash pad, there's actually a lot to be done in the little 3D section apart from the dash pad. We got some decent platforming there, homing attack chains, then you got some collectibles like the number rings and the moon rings. So yeah, pretty much just don't check that dash pad, and then the stage is actually pretty decent. This stage feels like a Sonic Adventure 2 stage, kind of. I mean, linear pathway, but some multiple branching pathways on that linear pathway. Once again, I wish it was a bit less boost to win some of the time, and obviously longer for the final stage, pretty much one of the final stages in the game, but still a decent stage, man, a decent stage. A lot of fun to speedrun too. Next up is Dragon Road Act 5 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, the final DLC stage for Dragon Road in the daytime, and it is kind of short, and it's pretty much just watering the entire time, but it's actually a lot, and I mean a lot of fun. Like, trying to do this all in one go is actually pretty satisfying without getting hit anything, just keeping the jumps going, trying to maneuver yourself around the place correctly, not getting hit by any spikes that's in the water, and fire wraps too, pretty nice, and yeah, just a fun stage in general, to be honest with you, no complaints here. Just wish it was a bit longer, but still, it's just fun stage in general. Next up is Sweet Mountain Act 5 from Sonic Colors. Once again, another decent stage from Sonic Colors in terms of the main acts. And yeah, the 3D section isn't that interesting. I mean, it's the only 3D section in the game, and it's kind of boring, honestly. But the 2D section is actually pretty fun. A lot of things to go fast on, a lot of flow to it in my opinion, and yeah, just solid overall. Right next up is Network Terminal from Sonic Forces. And yeah, I don't care what anybody says, this stage is actually pretty well designed, especially in that 2D section. While the 3D section isn't bad, especially the opening section, a lot of multiple pathways there, but it is a lot of it just on rails and kind of ends a bit too quickly for my liking, but even that 3D section too is alright to end the stage on. The 2D section is where it's at though. That's actually a pretty well designed 2D section. Actually realising the slidey, the stomp, I mean, you better see those mechanics used in Forces, so to see using this section right here, pretty good. And then the gimmick with the falling Mega Mac or whatever it's called, it's actually pretty solid too, using those to move the platforms and everything. I like that. And then the top pathway as well, it's actually pretty difficult to actually stay there, even if there's actually nothing up there, but still, that top pathway is not easy, I can tell you that much. Right next up is Cyberspace 4-2 from Sonic Frontiers. Yeah, I don't think there's any surprise as to why this stage is so high. I mean, it was one of the most original stages in the game, fully 3D, a lot of pathways. I mean, when we first saw it, we probably thought that's going to be a decent stage, but I don't think it's quite in the A tier just yet, because I feel like it's lacking in some areas. I mean, that first 3D section, kind of like us running in a straight line with nothing really to do. I mean, you got some cars to sort of dodge, and then you got some trails of rings to light dash onto, but yeah, there's a lot of just running in a straight line on this stage, which I'm not a big fan of, especially with Sonic being so slow. If it was a bit faster, it could have been a lot more bearable. And then if you take the faster pathway too, you're not really doing much because there's actually a long section of just automation. Nice camera angle though, can't lie, but still, a lot of it is just on the faster pathway anyways. It's a lot of just doing nothing, honestly, but it does take some skill to get the S rank, so yeah. Right next up is Asteroid Coast Act 2 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, the 3D section in this stage isn't amazing. Mostly it's running in a straight line or doing some homing attack chains on some asteroids, but the 2D here is actually pretty fun. Some of it is a bit slow paced with the waiting for stuff here, but if you're quick enough, you actually skip a lot of it, and I find that to be very satisfying. Especially in the last section, if you just boost at the right time, you can pretty much skip everything there, and I find that a lot of fun. It's actually pretty difficult too, not gonna lie, so yeah. Decent stage, man. Decent stage. Right next up is Aquarium Park Act 1 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, great opening 3D section, honestly. Starting in the skydiving, going straight into the loop-to-loop, then into the quick-stepping section, and the middle 3D section as well. Not great, I would say, because it's basically just a quick-step section and then it's over. But then the 2D is actually pretty fun with the drill wisp in the water, a lot of pathways there, and then, yeah, decent S rank too. I like the stage overall. Right next up is Dragon Road Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed. Right now on to the more interesting Act 2s from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, this one's a lot of fun. Like getting it all in one go, very satisfying, especially with no hits as well. Getting the S rank, we do it perfectly, beautiful, love that feeling. But even if it is fun, it's not the best Act 2 just yet. Because next up we have Rooftop Run Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, very infamous stage this is, especially after Frontiers. But yeah, I find it pretty fun, getting a perfect run, getting a perfect speedrun in it too, especially with how difficult it is. One mess but it could be all over, and I find that pretty cool. And yeah, has a lot more flow to it than the Frontiers version, especially with the controls too, a lot better here, but yeah, fun overall. Right next up is Starlight Carnival Act 5 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, once again, basically just a better Act 1, honestly. A lot more 3D sections is actually interesting now. That 3D section, a lot more platforming and everything. Looks grand too if I make it there. It looks so high too, like you figure out how the hell I'm going to climb that thing, and then you just use a hover whisk to get all the way to the top. It's a bit boring, but oh well, still pretty fun. Though I will say, the 2D section isn't great, I'm not gonna lie. It's a bit annoying, especially on the vertical section. There's some spike wisp section there which I kind of like, especially if you don't be fast enough and not falling to your doom. That's pretty cool, but yeah. Apart from that, a decent stage. Right next up we have Planet Wisp Act 1 from Sonic Colors. A good stage overall, man. I mean, the first 3D section isn't that amazing, especially with the drifting, but it picks up a bit with the quick stepping on the wall. That's pretty fun. If you mess up once there, you're dead. Then you got a nice rail grinding section there too. And honestly, this stage in general has a lot of flow to it. Like go from the 3D to the 2D, 2D to 3D, 3D back to 2D. Just a lot of flow, man. Always on the move here. And even with the platforming too, if you're smart about it, you can make some quick boost jumps and air boosts over it, which is pretty cool. And then just using the spike wisp is a lot of fun. Same with the rocket wisp, and yeah, overall, a fun stage. Right next up is Sweet Mountain Act 1 from Sonic Colors. And yeah, once again, another fun Act 1. You got nice 3D sections here and there, some platforming in there, some drifting. Even the 2D ain't half bad here, especially in Ultimate version too with the Jade Wisp. But using the drill here too, skipping all of it, a lot of fun. And yeah, once again, another stage with a lot of flow here, which is pretty solid. Right, next up is Aquarium Park Act 6 from Sonic Colors. Yeah, this is one of the rare instances where Sonic Colors has split up a stage into multiple acts. It's actually a full stage as it was intended to be, which makes it a whole lot better because it don't feel too short and not fleshed out enough. Because yeah, this stage is pretty decent overall. 3D isn't amazing, I would say, but I do like that one section where you platform on the waterfall. That's actually really cool. And then you got one section where, kind of like a rush section, where you have to take all the enemies to proceed. And even though the camera kind of ruins that section, it is a nice change of pace throughout the stage. And then the 2D sections here, without using the drill wisp, they're kind of terrible, not even gonna lie. Very, very slow, but when you use the drill to get through them all, it's actually a lot of fun, man. Right next up is Altitude Limit Act 2 from Sonic Rush. Yeah, not gonna lie, after Act 1 I was kind of excited for this stage because Act 1 was so good, but Act 2 is a bit of a confusing stage, not gonna lie. I mean, the first section with the rails, that is strange. I don't know why they decided to put that. That was a bit of a strange design choice, but it's a very confusing stage overall. I don't even know what's happening half the time, but it's still fun, but not as good as Act 1. Not by a large margin here. And now next up, once again, another Rush stage, Water Palace Act 1. Yep, honestly, Water Palace is a banger water stage. I mean, it's just Water Palace, man. Banger song, banger stage. Goes well together. But I don't think Act 1 is as good as Act 2, though. I like Act 2 a bit more. Act 1 is good, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's lacking in some areas. I don't know. I feel like it could be a bit more with the difficulty and stuff like that. A bit more platforming here and there, but yeah. Still a fun stage. Next up is Cool Edge Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed. And yeah, probably one of the best Act 2s in the game, honestly. I mean, we got some nice 3D sections in there, which require a lot of dodging and everything from the water. And it's just water running too, that's pretty fun. Then the 2D sections are pretty fast paced. I mean, it is Unleashed after all, so it's to be expected. But yeah, definitely a great Act 2, man. Great Act 2. Right, next up is Savannah Citadel Act 5 from Sonic Unleashed. And what I find cool about this stage is that they actually reused the boss area for Savannah Citadel, the egg beetle, and use it for this stage, but actually make it a lot more interesting, adding some laps to it, then actually having you bounce off into some sort of 2D section that's floating in the sky. Honestly, this is actually a lot of fun. Really cool. The 2D has a nice balance of platforming and some fast-paced sections there. The 3D isn't amazing, I would say. It's basically just a lot of quick stepping with the aero chases and that little mini boss thing, but it's not bad. It's not bad. Right next up is Pirates Island Act 2 from Sonic Rush Adventure. And yeah, the stage is good overall. Has some nice gimmicks here and there with the dolphins and everything, and the cannons that shoot out water they use as rails. That's pretty cool, but it doesn't really feel or play like a final stage. Like, I don't think it's nearly as difficult as it should be. I mean, there's some BS moments in there, definitely, but not necessarily on final level material. I mean, I feel the same as Deadline, but Deadline feels a lot more towards the final level kind of thing. But not with Pirates Island though, it feels more like a mid-game stage rather than a final stage. But it's still a good stage nevertheless, so yeah. Right, next up is Coral Cave Act 1 from Sonic Rush Adventure. Now this is where I felt like the game actually started to pick up in level design now, because this feels like actually a lot more Rush. I mean, you got insta-kill stuff now, which doesn't sound all that great, but because it's a Rush game, it kind of needs it. I mean, without some stuff that just kills you instantly, it doesn't feel like a Rush game. The fun part about all these Rush games is that you have to use the speed that you have to avoid all these insta-kill obstacles and everything like that, and if you actually get past them all, it feels extremely satisfying, especially with the S-rank at the end. My god, that is so satisfying in Rush. So yeah, Coral Cave Act 1, a solid stage. Right, next up on the list is Sweet Mountain Act 1 from Sonic Colors DS. Yeah, this stage just slaps, honestly. It's not one of the best stages in the game, but it definitely still slaps. It's basically a Tropical Resort, but with a lot more use of the burst XP and a lot more interesting gimmicks and everything like that. Right now we have Starlight Carnival Act 2 from Sonic Colors DS. Once again, another great stage, but I feel like there's not enough in here though. I do like the outside section and everything like that, but I feel the last section feels kind of ripping off from Mirage Road. It is good though, don't get me wrong. I think I prefer it to a lot of the Mirage sections, but I feel like Act 2 is missing a lot more compared to Act 1 though. Right on to Planet Wisp Act 2 from Sonic Colors DS. Once again, another great stage. A lot of the drill sections are actually really interesting here, especially getting chased by that wall. That is a really intense section. Like, one mess up and it's game over. You're losing your rings and you can get crushed here too. Very, very intense. Then you got those plants that eat you up if you're too slow. They're going ahead and chase you, and then yeah. Overall, it's a fun stage, but once again, not as good as Act 1 in my opinion. Right, then we're finally, onto the top of the B tier, with Asteroid Coaster Act 2 from Sonic Colors DS. And yeah, this is pretty much the final stage of the game, and it is an alright way of kind of ending off the game, nearly anyways, because you got the final boss too, but I felt it was a bit too much of the Void Wisp, but then those roller coaster section with the skull heads trying to eat you or whatever, so if there was a bit less of that and some martial platforming and everything like that, I think this would be a lot higher, but as for now, it's at the top of the B tier, which now we're moving on to the A tier, with Leaf Storm Act 2 from Sonic Rush. My god, for an Act 2 from the opening zone, it's just great, man. Like, god damn, it's just a great stage. Not as good as Act 1 in my opinion. I think Act 1 has a lot more flow to it, but Act 2 still pretty great stage, man. Use the trick system here is just brilliant, man. I love it. Right, next up we have Pirates Island Act 1 from Sonic Rush Adventure. And yeah, basically just a better act from Act 2, honestly. A lot more fun, a lot more flow to it, and yeah, I don't really remember it to be honest with you, that much, but yeah, it's still fun because it must be here for a reason, like I said earlier. And yeah, not gonna lie, I think Rush Adventure is kind of a forgettable game, not gonna lie. I mean, maybe it's because I've barely played the game all that much, played it only once just for this tier list, but even still, with Rush, I kind of do remember some of the stages, even after playing it not that much, but with Rush Adventure, yeah, man, I don't know. Very forgettable game, man. Not that great level design in that game compared to the first Rush game. Right, anyways, next up we have Planet Waste Act 1 from Sonic Colors DS. Yeah, basically same as the previous series, honestly, just a better Act 2. I like having to get the Rocket Wisp in the Drill Wisp sections, and then using that in a later part of the stage. That is pretty cool. I think the original Colors did it too, but not as well as the DS version, man. Next up we have Asteroid Coaster Act 1 from Sonic Colors, and yeah, this is honestly the best stage in the game, to be honest with you. I mean, it's got some great 3D sections, finally, what took so long. Then the 2D is fast but minimal, and overall it's a mostly 3D stage, which is kind of insane to say about a Color stage, man. It's not necessarily a hard stage or a long one even, but yeah, still a fun stage overall. Very good. Right, next up is Jungle Joyride Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, this is the best Act 2 in the game. Fast paced, difficult. I think the S-Rank is kind of easy, unfortunately, that kind of bogs it down a bit, but even still without the S-Rank, it's still a very satisfying stage to do perfectly, because my god, a lot of things can go wrong here. A lot of things can go wrong here. Especially in those vertical sections where you have to platform and wall jump upwards. Those platforms can be a bit annoying, especially when they start moving and everything, so yeah. Right, next up is Windmill Isle Act 4 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, a lot of people are a fan of this stage, especially in the speedrunning category of it, and it's very easy to see why. I mean, even though it is just kind of a straight line, this is the most interesting straight line I've ever seen in a Sonic game, hands down. Like, even just for Windmill Isle, it is very, very difficult to do perfectly. I died so much just playing this stage for the first time, and you know what? I respect it, man. Like, the DLC is no joke in Sonic Unleashed, and they went all out just for Windmill Isle, like, goddamn. And then when just speedrunning the stage getting the perfect run, and even the S-Rank 2, is just so good in this stage. But how straight liney it is, Sonic Force is going to take us some notes from this, honestly. Like, my god. A lot of fun here, man. A lot of fun. Right, next up is Mirage Road, Act 1. And yeah, it was at this point that I realised that Sonic Rush is just goated, man. Like, so goated. They mix platforming with difficulty, with some enemy brooms or whatever you want to call them. Then you got a nice little auto-scroll at the end to cap it all off. Like, such a great stage, man. They kind of ruined it in Act 2, not gonna lie, but yeah, it's so good in Act 1, man. So good. Right, next up is Savannah Citadel Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, take the L here, Sonic Unleashed fans, because yeah, you didn't have this stage right here. All you got was a boss fight in Savannah Citadel. Like, take the L, man. Honestly, big L right there. But yeah, this stage is actually pretty good. Even for just one of the earliest stages in the game. It does suffer with the 3 sections mostly just being a lot of just drifting and everything, but the one in the middle, that's actually a quick stepping section. That's pretty cool, I like that. Then 2D is so fast paced, and then you even got that last section at the end with the tree and everything. Kind of a loop, you have to keep going up to the top. And it's not like sections in colours where it's vertically upwards and it's so annoying. No, they actually make it fast paced here, racing around this tree, and if you keep falling off, you have to go around the tree again. A lot of fun, man. Right, next up is Cyberspace 4-4 from Sonic Frontiers. Finally, a very good stage in this game. It's original, it's not actually just 1 minute long, actually some good length here, got some platforming here, some fast paced stuff on the rails, some jumping, no automation here. It's just a great stage overall, man. Really nice change of pace from all the other stages in the game, being automated to short, reuse level design, and yeah, it's even in the city too, so no green chemical plant to ruin it, so brilliant, man. Honestly, just making the stage a bit more longer, a bit more difficult. It could have just made the stage an ST, honestly. It's that good, man. Right, next up we have Coral Cave Act 2 from Sonic Rush Adventure, and yeah, basically it takes the things from Act 1, but it expands on them, like some more water sections, some more things that fall on you and crush you, as part of what makes Sonic Rush games Sonic Rush. And it is a fun stage overall. Right, next up we have Windmill Isle Act 2 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, such a great opening stage, apart from the tutorial obviously. Like, it's so fast paced, man. Using the drift to get some insane speeds here is honestly just brilliant, man. I love it. And the platform is not half bad here, though a bit too much boost to win here. But yeah, for the opening stage of the game, well, pretty much anyway, because the first one was a tutorial, it's still a great opening, man. Right, next up we have Green Hill Act 2 from Sonic Generations, and yeah, pretty much the same as the last stage, but I think there's a bit more platform, which I do like compared to the previous stage, but yeah, still same philosophy as the previous stage. Great opening stage, man, especially for the boost games. Right, next up is City Escape Act 2 from Sonic Generations. Now, I think I really like this stage, really great stage, but I don't think it does justice to the original stage though. I think the skateboarding section can drag out just a tad bit too long, but then the platforming in the 3D section is actually pretty nice, so it could be a bit longer. And then the 2D section is pretty fun, very fast paced there. And then, yeah, pretty satisfying stage to get a perfect run in it, man. Not as good as the original stage, but still pretty good. Right, next up is Starlight Carnival Act 1 from Sonic Colors DS. And this stage is just brilliant, man. Like, so much fast reaction stuff with the rails and everything, using the Rocket Wisp in different sections, man. Like, This is where Sonic Colors DS really just steps up in terms of the gameplay compared to the Wii version. Like, there's a lot more fast reaction stuff here, and even though it's all 2D, it's just so much better than the Wii version, man. Like, the Wii version was more platforming and slow, but this one right here, platforming and speed, much better than the Wii version, man. Right, next up is Arid Sands from Sonic Unleashed Wii. I wasn't a huge fan of this stage at first because obviously the controls in this game, but when I went back and replayed it multiple times, mastering the stage, it actually turned out to be a very, very fun stage. Like, getting the perfect drift sync to get to the upper pathways and everything, the 2D section, a lot of things to dodge and stuff in there with the homing tracks and everything like that, and then, yeah, a lot of multiple pathways here too. Very fun stage, man. Doesn't look quite over to the HD version of the stage, but still, a pretty good stage. Right next up is Leaf Storm Act 1 from Sonic Rush, and my god, what an absolute banger of an opening stage to a Sonic game. Like, does it even get better than this? Like, here's some great gimmicks here, some great speed, platforming, use of the trick system here. Like, it's all brilliant, man. Dims were on it with Sonic Rush, man. They were just on it. They hit the mark immediately. Right next up, we have Windmill Isle Act 1-2 from Sonic Unleashed. I can't believe they did it, but they turned Windmill Isle Act 1 into such a difficult stage. I don't know how they did it, but they did. You start off by going through the stage backwards, then you get sent God knows where all the way to the bloody sky. Like, what the hell, man? Then you go back to the start of the stage again and go through it normally, but with a massive emphasis on difficulty here. Loads of obstacles here, loads of enemies. It's just insane, man, this stage. Such a great opening to the DLC for Unleashed, man. Really just set the tone for it all. The difficulty and everything is here. And once again, another satisfying stage to get perfect, man. Same with all the DLC in this game, honestly. Really, the DLC in Sonic Unleashed, man. So good. And would you know it? The next stage up here is Windmill Isle Act 2-2 from Sonic Unleashed. Basically doing what I did for Act 1 for Act 2, and yeah, because Act 2 is so much better than Act 1, this stage is better than Act 1-2 because the pathways actually put here is so good, man. Like, some of the pathways that we use as speedrun tactics in the original stage, I'll actually use as actual pathways here now. I'm not gonna lie here, these DLC stages feel like what Sonic Rush feels like, convert perfectly into 3D. Like, you got spikes everywhere, a lot to master here, just basically without the trick system, and honestly, it's a perfect recreation here. Right next up is Savannah Citadel Act 1-2 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, basically another great DLC stage. Adding a lot more obstacles to the 3D sections that were much needed here because, obviously, like I said earlier, some of the 3D sections in the original stage were kind of basic, obviously used for drifting, and yeah, they had a lot more stuff in the DLC stage for it. And then in the 2D section for this stage, there is a lot. And I mean a lot of very quick reaction stuff they have to do here. For example, one of the QTEs in the tree section, it's literally just instant, man. If you just miss it, then you're straight into spikes, man. Like, it's that insane. Right, next up we have Aquarium Park Act 2 from Sonic Colors DS. Yeah, honestly, I was surprised that these DS stages are actually going to be this high, because I knew the game was good, but I didn't think it was going to be that good. But yeah, these stages are actually really good, man. Aquarium Park Act 2, god, such a great stage, though I think I prefer Act 1, but still. Act 2 was a great stage nevertheless, using the lizard to just bounce on the water. I thought that was actually really cool, just bouncing on the water instead of going straight into the water. That was actually really cool. And then using the tulips and everything. But I'm not a huge fan of that last section with the water slides and everything. Not a huge fan of that. It's a bit confusing, not gonna lie. Kinda hard to see everything too, but doesn't ruin the whole stage for me, not in the slightest. Right next up we have Act 1 for Aquarium Park, Act 1 from Sonic Colors DS. Yeah, basically it's a better version of Act 2, to be honest with you, just without that annoying section at the end like in Act 2. Right next up is Chemical Plant Act 2 from Sonic Generations. Yeah, 3D in this stage has so many goddamn pathways, especially in the intro. Like, you got 3 split off pathways there, but then you got the water slide section, the skydiving section, then you got the 2D as well, really fun, ending off with the 3D section, that's pretty nice, and yeah, this makes for a great stage overall. Right, next up is Rooftop Run Act 2 from Sonic Generations, and this stage is as good as the original, not by a long shot I would say, quite short compared to it, and the climbing of the clock tower isn't that grand compared to the original stage, but it's still a great stage, nevertheless. 2D is really good here. I think the 3D isn't all that good, but still pretty fun. But yeah, the stage might be 2 minutes compared to the 5 minutes of the original stage, but what they do in those 2 minutes is really good. Right, next up is Water Palace Act 2 from Sonic Rush. Yeah, right here we have one of the best water stages in the series right here. Water Palace Act 2 is something else, man. Got so much fast-paced action here, platforming is really good, and then obviously you got the trick system on top of it to accompany it. Like, it's just so good, man. Such a great stage. Right, next up is Sweet Mountain Act 2 from Sonic Colors DS. I was actually surprised by how good this stage was. Like, it was a great length, about 3 minutes I'm pretty sure from what I remember. And then you got mini boss at the end too. It's not really much of a mini boss, it's just more of like a set piece I'd say. But it's still really cool. And throughout the stage you got some great gimmicks with the rocket and everything, and then bouncing on the jelly. Like, it just works so damn well. And then using the burst wisp too is just a cherry on top of it all. Right, next up is Asteroid Coast Act 1 from Sonic Colors DS. Yeah, this is the best stage in the game, hands down. It's not like Act 2 where they overuse the void wisp or the roller coaster sections. This is the perfect amount of each gimmick. You got difficulty, platforming, speed, Wisp and some gimmick here, just all mold together into the perfect stage for this game, like brilliant. Still not S tier though, still not S tier. Right next up is Crimson Carnival from Sonic Unleashed Wii, basically Eggman Land Day. Yeah, unfortunately in the Wii version compared to the HD version, they don't combine the day and night sections into one stage, which is a bit of a disappointment, but nevertheless, this stage is still pretty fun. Not as good as the original stage, I would say, because, yeah, that is a very high bar to reach, but, what they do here is admirable. They got some nice gimmicks here with the rocket, that was a bit short-lived, but still fun nevertheless, but this stage is scary, man. Very scary, especially on those platforms where you got the up and down sections on it. That was very, very scary, especially at the end of the stage as well. And then, I don't like the section where you're just quick-stepping against the mini-boss. That kind of felt a bit dragged out, not gonna lie, especially since it wasn't even that hard. Basically the same thing from the first stage, when we like Act 2, but, overall, still a really good stage. Right next up is Altitude Limit Act 1 from Sonic Rush. Yeah, this stage is an absolute banger of a stage, bro. I mean, while I was dying a lot here, I was still having so much bloody fun. This stage felt like an entire journey, man. Like starting off with Sonic, going to the parachute, then the thing that rises, then ending on the paraglider at the end of the stage. Like, my god, what an absolute brilliant stage, man. Still not S tier, but it was getting there, man. It was seriously getting there. Right next up is Rooftop Run Act 2-2 from Sonic Unleashed. This stage basically takes the original stage, but amplifies it so much, adding some 3D sections, adding it into some laps, making it extremely difficult. Like, my god, what a fun stage. Though difficult, but that's just part of the fun of it though, man. Having a fun but difficult stage, that's very hard to do with Sonic games nowadays, I would say. Especially since there's barely any difficult stages anyways. Right next up on the list is Speed Highway Act 2 from Sonic Generations. Yeah, not as good as the original stage, but still, as a boost interpretation of it, it's pretty solid, man. It's pretty solid. The 3D sections are on point here, multiple pathways, some platforming to do here, then the 2D's fast pace, a lot of reaction based stuff here too. And honestly, the only thing that's missing from the stage is the sunset from the original stage. Like, I found it very disappointing that there was no sunset transition like the original stage here. That was very disappointing, but nevertheless, still a great stage, though once again, like all Generation stages, nearly anyways, just a bit too short. Right next up is Arid Sands Act 1-2 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, this is one of the couple instances where I don't actually like the DLC stage more than the original stage, because this stage feels too BS-y. Like, it's still fun, don't get me wrong, but I feel there's a bit too many spikes here, and some of the 2D sections are a bit confusing, like it's a bit giant just staring at it, but still, even with all the BS moments in this stage, getting that perfect run, as always in Sonic Unleashed, is satisfying as hell. Right, moving on to Cool Edge Act 2-2 from Sonic Unleashed. An absolute banger of a DLC stage, turning the original Act 2 into something even better, better 3D sections, more intense gameplay overall, like, goddamn. And then the same goes for the next stage in the list, Dragon Road Act 2-2 from Sonic Unleashed. This stage has 5 laps, man. 5 goddamn laps now. Not 3, but 5. Jeez Louise, this stage was a goddamn doozy. So difficult, man. So goddamn difficult to do in one run. My god, it's so satisfying though, but it's not easy. Not in the slightest. You got tight QTEs, enemies that are shooting at you from goddamn everywhere. A difficult to reach top pathway, like goddamn, this stage throws everything at you, man. Like the Chinan DLC in Sonic Unleashed meant business, man, especially in the daytime. Right, next up we have Cool Edge Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, great ice stage, no need to say anymore. I think it's not as good as the DLC stage, obviously. Some of the 3D feels a bit empty in this stage, especially that opening 3D section. A bit empty, but it is opening the stage too, so can't be mad at it. And some people don't like the sled sections, but I actually really like them. I think they actually work a lot better than the Wii version, especially since turning with this thing now is actually a lot better compared to the very, very stiff turning in the Wii version. Like, my god, so bad in the Wii version, but here, it's actually really good. Right, next up is Deadline Act 1 from Sonic Rush. Yeah, like I said earlier, I feel like Deadline feels not enough like a final stage. I mean, you got the gravity stuff here, you got the aesthetic, the music definitely feels like a final stage, but I think it could have been a bit more difficult. I mean, it's still a fantastic stage, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I think a bit more difficulty could have really got it into the S rank tier. But no, it's at the top of the A tier. Well, nearly anyways, because at the top of the A tier, we have Deadline Act 2 from Sonic Rush. Yeah, basically same problems as the first act, not enough difficulty here, but still better than Act 1, and still a really solid stage overall. Once again, nearly at the S tier. But yeah, now it is time for the final tier of this video. God damn, I've been going for so long now, 2 hours, 20 minutes, bloody hell. But yeah, starting off the S tier, we have Night Carnival Act 1 from Sonic Rush. Night Carnival is a goated zone. I don't care what anybody says, man. Night Carnival is so bloody good. I was just so surprised by it, man. Like, you got so many things you can do here with the tricks and everything. Then there's moving light platforms that when you hit a switch, you just use your quick boost jumps to get past them quickly. And it's just small things like that that really make me love Night Carnival, man. Like, god damn, it is so good. But now we move on to Sky Sanctuary Act 2 from Sonic Generations. Yeah, brilliant stage, man. Bloody brilliant. I think you might notice this, but all stages in S tier pretty much stages I think that are pretty much nearly perfect. I might have like a minimal criticism about them at all. But with most of the generation stages, mostly it's going to be a wish more difficult and 2 longer. Because Sky Sanctuary Act 2, yeah, I don't know how you can make this even better without us making it more difficult and longer. Like, the level design is that good, man. Generation, just on it, man. Right, next up is Rooftop Run Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, it's very easy to see why this stage is so high. This is a lot of people's favourite stage in the entire game. Heck, even in the entire franchise. And while I wouldn't go to those lengths just yet, it's definitely a brilliant stage, man. I mean, you start off on the ground, climbing up a clock tower, going back down it again, ending off the quick step section with the arrow chase and everything. Like, it's just a brilliant stage overall, man. And then the fact that you can go on for like 5 minutes too. In Unleashed, you weren't afraid to make long stages, man. Like, I wish Generations did that. Like, Generations would be so much better with longer stages, man. Might even surpass some of the Unleashed stages, like a lot of them too. Like, god damn. Right, next up is Skyscraper Scamp Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed. Another stage that the Wii version didn't have, and god damn, what a massive loss. Empire City for both the day and night are absolute bangers of stages, man. Like, especially Act 1. Like, right here. This is so good. I think it's a bit too short for my liking, but similar to Generation stages, what they do in those couple of minutes is brilliant, man. So brilliant. 3D sections absolutely slap. 2D absolutely slaps, man. Then you got the arrow chaser sections, actually spiced it with the what's called those laser things out in the game land for that one stage in colours. Then you got the fire as well, combining it all together, make for one difficult section, and then god, it says fire, man. Straight fire, man. Skipping half that rail section in this stage 2 is just lovely, lovely jubbly. And then this stage 2 has a lot of 3D platforming here too, which I actually really enjoy. But anyways, moving on to the next stage, which is Rooftop Run Act 1-2 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, this just makes Rooftop Run Act 1 a lot better now. Got a lot more things to dodge now and then. What the hell was that skydiving section though? That was insanity, man. Just looking at that, that is insane. But yeah, this base just Rooftop Run just ramped up to 11, man. Like, god damn, it's just crazy here, man. Absolutely crazy. Right, next up is Arid Sands Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed. And honestly, in my opinion, a very, very underrated stage. A lot of people say they don't like this stage for some reason, and I'm sat here like, why? Like, sure, you got some difficult sections here, but that's what makes it so good. Like, when you have the perfect run on the stage, god damn, it's beautiful. Like, getting through it all without any damage or anything, getting the S rank at the end too, is beautiful. And that first section, I know it's kind of annoying with all the people in the way, but when you get that perfect drift around every single thing there, god damn, the floor is beautiful there. Like, god damn. Unleashed is so good, man. Right, next up is Dragon Road Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed. Now, here we go. 3D platforming for Sonic Unleashed. And now, the controls aren't perfect here, I will say. The jump can be a bit heavy in some places, but I think it actually works pretty well. And then one thing I actually love about this stage, and that I don't see a lot of people using, is there's one section you can actually skip a lot of the stage. If you're into the left of this little bridge section here, running on the water, you can just run over to this firework right here, and that was a great skip, man. Like, I see people complimenting Sonic Generation saying, oh, look at this 3D section in Crisis City, but where's the Unleashed love, man? Like, come on. I don't see anybody talking about this firework right here. Like, come on, man. But you're combining the 3D platforming with the water running, with the 2D sections, then with that final section at the end with the mini-boss thing. This is made for a great stage, man. Brilliant stage, Dragon Road Act 1. Banger. Right, next up, we have Huge Crisis Act 1 from Sonic Rush. Once again, I was surprised by how good Huge Crisis was. Like, my god. When I first played it, I was getting crushed left, right, and center because of how annoying those platforms are. And somehow in my run, when I was playing it again, I got very lucky and didn't get crushed at all. And honestly, that kind of did not sour my taste for the stage at all. And I realized that the stage is straight fire. Like, straight fire. Like, using the double jumping, the tricks to get to those things that you grab onto, then they swing you around. That is a lot of fun. Then you got the rocket platform thing that sends you flying too. That's a lot of fun to do tricks off of and just get a lot of boosts with that way. And then I don't even mind the enemy sections here too. You know, the enemy rooms, I don't mind them here too because they actually make them interesting. Same with the next stage 2, which is Huge Crisis Act 2 from Sonic Rush. Basically the same thing as Act 1, but even better. More interesting platforming, more interesting enemy sections, like goddamn. Huge Crisis to Banger Zone, man. Banger Zone. Rush is too good, man. Sega, please, give us a part of it, man. Like, come on. Right, then now for the final Sonic Rush stage on the tier list, which is Night Carnival Act 2. Absolutely goddamn amazing. I mean, when I first played this stage, I was not a huge fan of it because I kept dying and everything, but when you get that perfect run, it slaps. It absolutely slaps this stage. Like, Hands down, this stage is amazing. Right, next up is Seaside Hill Act 2 from Sonic Generations, and yes, this is better than the original stage, I'm just gonna say that right now. One of the rare instances where a Generation stage is actually better than the original counterpart. I mean, the original Seaside Hill was good, but it's not touching this, like, not in the slightest. I mean, you got multiple pathways in the 3D section here, a lot of 3D platforming too. Then you got the 2D section too, which is very fast paced. Got some water running in there too. But obviously, surprise, surprise, it's still a bit too short. Right, moving on to Crisis City Act 2 from Sonic Generations. Once again, another banger stage. Though I feel like the stage isn't as good as the original stage. I don't know, to be honest with you, because 06 is, 06. But there was a lot more going on in that stage compared to this one. Like, the Gens version feels like it's trying to do what 06 did, but none of the cool factor is there. For example, the last running section, that's supposed to be a max speed section, 06, where you're running away from a fire tornado, but it's not here in Generations. But I know I'm kind of hating on the stage right now, but still, it's a great stage nevertheless. Great level design, great 3D platforming, great 2D sections, some actual difficulty here, and yeah, once again, a bit too short. Right, it's time for another hot take in this tier list, and now we have Planet Wisp Act 2 from Sonic Generations. Yeah, people don't really like this stage at all. The general consensus is that the first 3D section, that's brilliant, and then the 2D section is kinda boring, and then it goes downhill after that. And while I do agree that the 2D section does drag on a little bit too long, it doesn't mean it's not good. Like, obviously the 3D is the best part of the stage, definitely, especially that first 3D section, but the 2D isn't half bad. The Rocket Wisp is used decently well here, I'm not gonna lie. Then you got that fun gimmick with the cart things. Then you've got an intense section at the end of the stage too, where you have the thing coming down to crush you, quickly find a Rocket Wisp to actually fly upwards and then go through the ceiling, and then yeah, makes for a pretty good final stage in my opinion for Generations. Really good stage in my opinion, really good. Right, next up is Jungle Joyride Act 1-2 from Sonic Unleashed, and yeah, another instance of me not preferring the DLC version of the stage compared to the original. For some reason in the DLC, they made the stage kind of easier. I mean, there's a lot of cool camera angles here, don't get me wrong, but they remove quite a lot of the stage and make it very easy. For example, in the first 3D section, I had dash pads everywhere in there. Then in the jungle section, the first one anyways, the fastest pathway usually in the other stage is made very easy now with a flipping dash pad there to actually make it a lot easier. Then on the roads that you would usually fall off of, there's some springs at the end of them now, so you can't fall off, which is a bit stupid. And yeah, just in general, the DLC has some nice camera angles. I like the end section where you actually run in the waterfall. It's just a lot easier than the original stage, which I'm not a huge fan of, so yeah. The DLC version of this stage is actually lower than the original. Right, next up is Skyscraper Scamp Act 1-2 from Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, this stage right here, this is a lot better than the original stage in my opinion. It's a lot harder, a lot more to do in the 3D platforming, more pathways and everything. 2D is a lot more intense, and yeah, fun stage overall, man. Next up is Cool Edge Act 1-2 from Sonic Unleashed. Another banger DLC stage, man. Amplifying the original stage up so much. I mean, that first 3D section, as bizarre as it is compared to the original, is so much more involving now. Then the sled sections, more involving once again. Then that first 3D section, man, why is that so difficult? Like, god damn, that is a difficult section. Then even the watering now has been made so goddamn hectic, but I love it, man. It's such a great stage, man. Like, so hectic that you just love it. It's perfect speedrun 2, getting that perfect running once again, satisfying as goddamn hell. And yeah, this is honestly just Cool Edge at its best, personally. Right then, third to last stage on the tier list. Dragon Road Act 1-2 from Sonic Unleashed. Same situation as the previous stage, amplifying Dragon Road even more, making it insanely, and I mean insanely difficult. The platforming here is so bloody precise, but it's great. Then the water running has made it absolutely insane. 2D is actually kind of tame in this stage, not gonna lie. It's just a 3D that was made so much harder. And you know what? I'm actually very happy about that, because the 3D was good in the original, but it definitely could have done a lot more. And right here is how you goddamn do it. Especially that platforming section near the end of the stage. That is something else, man. Something else. Bloody hell. Right, next up is Jungle Joyride Act 1 from Sonic Unleashed. A great stage, man, 5 minutes in length, great level design, intense section at the start of the stage, got some great 2D sections too, a lot of pathways in that first one, then some intense platforming in the second section. Warning is really intense too, things falling on you, you have to keep jumping all over it. And now, it's time for my opinion, the best stage in Sonic history now. I was debating whether to put this on or not because of how the stage is actually structured, but I did a poll on Twitter and people said this counts as a boost stage, so we're gonna go for the best stage in Sonic history, and obviously the top of the tier list right now, and that is Eggman Land from Sonic Unleashed. Now I know this is a huge hot take, but Eggman Land is so goated, man. Such a fantastic stage. Like the atmosphere, the level design, like everything. This is how you do a final level in a Sonic game. Heck, in a video game in general, this is how you do it. You got some very tight QTEs, an insane skydiving section, platforming is at its peak right here. Like that opening section of Eggman Land with the daytime Sonic. That is so good, man. Such peak levels on right there. That section can range from either 50 seconds or 3 minutes if you're not good enough. And then I know it's not part of the boosting gameplay, but the work is actually really good too. Skipping a lot of the platform is actually really fun. But oh my god, Eggman Land. What a banging way to go out with Sonic Unleashed, man. I love Eggman Land, man. It's got the perfect land. I can clear it in about 10 minutes or something like that. If you think Eggman Land sucks, then honestly, skill issue right there. Huge skill issues. Get good, seriously. Bloody hell. Eggman Land is so good. And that brings us to the end of this tier list. Bloody flipping hell. I've been recording for 2 hours and 35 minutes. Longest recording session for any video, period. Just wanted to start out this year with absolute banger of a video, so here you go. Please, for the love of God, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, because I spent so much bloody work on this tier list, man. Like, even just getting the tier list done, like creating the template, took like 6 hours. Then playing the games for the tier list took like 2 days. It was horrible, but yeah, if you want to see more stuff like this, let me know down below. I'll definitely do some more stuff like this. I'm definitely interested in tier lists, but yeah, I'll start working on the Frontiers review now, because this is kind of some filler for that. But yeah, Frontiers review is gonna be the next big video, so look out for that. No idea when that's gonna come out, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, especially that last one. Don't forget to become Unleashed by pressing that join button down below. Remember, it's not necessary. And I'll see you all next time. Peace!